This is One Punch Man, a show about a guy who trained so hard he went bald and accidentally broke the entire concept of being a hero. Every monster gets one-punched. Every villain speech gets cut short. Every episode Saitama looks more bothered about missing a grocery sale than saving the world. Episode 1. It opens on pure chaos. A monster is tearing through City A. Explosions going off everywhere. News reporters scrambling in the background. The Hero Association is trying to figure out the threat level while Lightning Max and Smile Man are reportedly on the way. Then, out of nowhere, a bald guy in a yellow jumpsuit just casually decides he'll handle it. The monster, Vaccine Man, launches into a whole speech about how the Earth itself created him to wipe out humanity. Humans are a disease. Civilization is a plague. The whole thing. He's furious that this random guy would show up for such a meaningless reason. Saitama just ends it in one punch. Vaccine Man doesn't even get to finish his sentence. Saitama stands there looking more annoyed than relieved, muttering about how it's always over in one hit. Then the episode rewinds 3 years to show how he got here. 3 years earlier, Saitama is unemployed, freshly rejected from another job interview, completely dead inside. He's wandering the street when a monster called Crablante starts clearing the area. He's a guy who ate too much crab and transformed. And now he's hunting a big-chinned kid who drew nipples on him with a permanent marker while he was sleeping in the park. Crablante clocks that Saitama has the same lifeless eyes he does, so he lets him walk. But Saitama spots the kid, figures out he's the target, and hesitates. The kid isn't cute, it's none of his business. He has zero reason to get involved. He gets involved anyway. Saitama grabs the kid and tells him to bolt, then squares up against Crablante. While stalling, something clicks for him. He remembers that as a kid, he wanted to be a hero. Not a salaryman. A real hero who sends villains flying with one punch. He decides right there to ditch the job hunt and throw down. The fight is rough. Crablante is massive and brutal. But Saitama pulls through. Cut back to the present. He's buying groceries, comes up short on cash, and ends up with only 82 yen to his name. Meanwhile, somewhere else, two brothers have just finished developing an experimental steroid called Biceps King. The older brother is the brains. The younger one drinks the stuff and transforms into a giant. They start leveling cities. The older brother riding on his sibling's shoulder, the younger one locked in on his dream of being the strongest man alive. Then they spot Saitama standing on the giant's other shoulder. Saitama tells him to put some pants on. The older brother panics and orders his giant sibling to crush him, and the giant, rushing the swing, grabs the wrong shoulder and pulps his own brother instead. He grieves for about half a second, then turns his rage on Saitama, slamming him through a building and pummeling him into a crater while declaring himself the strongest man alive. Saitama climbs out untouched, agrees with him, and ends it in one punch. City B is destroyed in the aftermath. Saitama walks home, washes his gloves, and thinks. He narrates how the evils of the world haven't gone away, how he hasn't really changed anything. But what's really eating at him is something else. His emotions are fading. Fear, tension, joy, anger, none of it registers anymore. He wonders if in exchange for becoming this strong, he lost something fundamentally human. A car-themed monster shows up and threatens him. Saitama mentally plans his dinner while finishing the fight. Then the Subterraneans emerge. They're an underground civilization dealing with overpopulation, and they've decided to claim the surface by wiping out everyone on it. Their leader explains that 70% of surface dwellers are already dead since the invasion started. They're massive, powerful, and actually durable. Saitama can't one-punch them immediately. For the first time in years, his heart is pounding. The tension, the thrill, the genuine back and forth of a real fight, it all comes rushing back. He's grinning, overwhelmed by how much he missed this feeling. Then he wakes up. It was a dream. The Subterranean King is standing in front of him, just started his big speech, and Saitama ends it instantly. He sits alone in the rubble, completely hollow. He's become too strong, and there's nothing left that can make him feel anything. Episode 2. It starts with a news segment about a massive mosquito outbreak hitting City Z. Some expert gets dragged on screen, confidently announces, these are a brand new species he knows nothing about, and immediately gets kicked off the set. The broadcast cuts to an emergency warning, threat level demon, mummified farm animals found. Everyone told to stay inside no matter what. Saitama is at home, watering his cactus and half listening, when a single mosquito gets in and starts buzzing around him. He swats at it over and over, and even with godlike strength, he cannot kill the thing. Meanwhile, a mosquito girl is out in the streets running a whole operation. She sends her swarm to drain blood from animals and people, then pulls it all back into herself to power up. A cyborg shows up and clocks exactly what she's doing almost immediately, figures that taking out the leader should scatter the swarm, and moves to eliminate her. They go back and forth, pretty evenly matched. She tears off one of his arms. He blasts off both of her legs. Realizing she's losing, she calls in mosquitoes from all around to feed her more blood. The cyborg is already lining up to torch the swarm when Saitama wanders in, still chasing his own mosquito from earlier. He spots something writhing nearby. The whole swarm is clustering together. The cyborg appears next to him and tells him to evacuate, explains the swarm is conscious and will attack the second it senses him. Then he fires a massive incineration blast that torches the entire swarm in one shot. The cyborg turns and realizes Saitama is standing there completely unharmed, just with most of his clothes burned off. Then Mosquito Girl absorbs enough blood to transform into something way bigger and meaner. The cyborg runs his analysis and realizes he has no shot. His only option is self-destructing and taking her with him. Before he can do it, Saitama slaps her so hard she explodes across the sky. Just a casual open palm swat. Done. The cyborg, whose name is Genos, immediately asks to become Saitama's disciple. They end up back at Saitama's apartment and Genos launches into his backstory. At 15, a rogue cyborg went berserk and wiped out his entire town. His family, his home, everything. He survived barely, and a scientist named Dr. Kuseno happened to pass through on a mission to stop the same cyborg. Genos asked to be rebuilt as a cyborg himself. 4 years later, he's 19, has destroyed countless monsters and criminal organizations, but still hasn't found a single lead on the cyborg that ruined his life. He's been running on frustration, chasing a ghost. Now he wants to train under him. The speech goes on for a while. Saitama tells him to wrap it up in 20 words or less. Genos condenses it. Please teach me to be as strong as you. Saitama, who is 25 and started training at 22, tells him he's young and will probably surpass him fast, then agrees to take him on. Before anything else can happen, something crashes through the ceiling at high speed. It's a mantis-type creature from an organization called the House of Evolution. They've been watching Saitama since he one-punched Mosquito Girl and want him brought in as a specimen. Saitama, mostly annoyed about his ceiling, ends it in one punch. Then he heads outside and takes apart the two others waiting there too. That's when a giant mole drags him underground through a sinkhole, while a gorilla in armor stays up top to fight Genos. Saitama climbs out of the ground, shakes dirt out of his suit, and faces off against the Beast King. The Beast King monologues, then goes all out with his lion slash. Saitama dodges everything in slow motion, hits back with consecutive normal punches, and the Beast King is gone. Just like that. He takes down the mole that dragged him under too. Meanwhile, Genos has already finished off the armored gorilla. When Saitama walks over, the gorilla immediately drops the robot voice he was putting on and begs for his life. Episode 3. The episode opens with a backstory on the man behind the House of Evolution. He was a brilliant scientist once, genuinely gifted, but the scientific community never took his ideas seriously. His whole obsession was with artificially evolving the human species, and nobody wanted any part of it. That rejection curdled into bitterness fast. He starts ranting about idiots who think they no longer need to evolve, having no right to pass on their genes, admits the whole plan was always for his own sake anyway, and decides he'll carry it out alone if he has to. He eventually rejuvenates his own body, starts cloning himself, builds the House of Evolution, and shifts from animal experiments to human subjects over time. The gorilla is still mid-monologue explaining all of this when Genos cuts him off and tells him to get to the point in 20 words or less. The gorilla condenses it. His boss is extremely curious about Saitama's body and wants to use it for evolution research. Genos asks if he knows anything about the rogue cyborg that wiped out his town. He doesn't. Genos still pushes for a direct attack on the organization. Saitama agrees without hesitation. He wants to go right now because there's a sale tomorrow and he can't do it then. Genos is barely keeping up as they run the whole way to the facility on foot. Saitama can't fly. He's just a guy who runs. When they finally arrive, Genos starts counting the floors to assess the building. He gets to about 8 stories before deciding to just blast the entire thing into rubble in one shot. Saitama points out they could have at least seen what traps the enemy had waiting for them. Genos thinks that's a fair point. They notice there's a basement and head down. Meanwhile, deep underground, the House of Evolution scientists are already panicking. Their whole elite squad got wiped out, and the 2 responsible are on their way. The only option left is releasing their trump card, a creature called Carnage Kabuto. Nobody in the room is thrilled about this. Carnage Kabuto is already down in the basement killing clones out of boredom. And when the scientist who created him comes down to talk, Kabuto makes it clear he's furious about being locked up underground. The scientist tells him he's mentally unstable and couldn't be controlled, which Kabuto does not take well. The scientist keeps his cool, tells Kabuto to go ahead and kill him since there are plenty of clones, then dangles a proposition. There's a specimen out there strong enough to need Kabuto specifically. Catch him dead or alive. Saitama and Genos find the basement and sense something ahead. Carnage Kabuto spots them, immediately decides Genos is irrelevant, and launches him into a wall so hard Genos turns into what Saitama describes as a piece of modern art. Kabuto invites Saitama into the combat experimentation room nearby, the biggest room in the facility, built specifically for testing fighters. Genos drags himself in and tries to blast Kabuto, but the attacks do nothing. Kabuto whoops him around the room and curls his hair into a perm just to add insult to injury. Saitama saves him and tells him to stop pushing himself. Then something strange happens. Kabuto charges at Saitama and stops dead. His instincts are screaming. Saitama is standing there completely open, no guard, nothing, and every signal in Kabuto's body is telling him that attacking would get him killed. He backs off, shaken, and demands to know how Saitama got that strong. Saitama shrugs and says he'll explain right now. He did 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and a 10-kilometer run, every single day for 3 years. 3 meals a day, never used the air conditioning or heat to toughen his mind, and never took a day off no matter how rough it got. A year and a half in, he noticed he'd gone bald. He'd also gotten strong. Nobody buys it. Genos is devastated. Kabuto is furious. Even the scientist watching from the side is baffled. Kabuto snaps and triggers carnage mode. A full week-long, uncontrollable killing rampage starting now, heading into town after he finishes here. He starts whooping Saitama, throwing him around the room, and for a moment, Saitama looks genuinely worried. Then he does the math. A whole week starting today means today is Saturday. Saturday is bargain day at the supermarket. Saitama panics about missing the sale and one-punches Kabuto into oblivion. Genos checks the time, confirms they can still make it if they leave immediately, and they bolt through a fresh hole in the wall. The episode closes on the scientist quietly deciding he's done with evolution. He's already seen the peak of humanity. Episode 4. The episode kicks off with a big guy named Hammerhead, standing on a street corner delivering a passionate speech about work, money, and freedom. He's ranting about the rich getting fat while the poor suffer, demanding a society where only people who want to work have to, and everyone else gets taken care of. Nobody's listening. His crew, the Paradisers, a bunch of shaved-head unemployed guys in stolen experimental battlesuits, just kind of stand there until Hammerhead gives up and redirects the energy toward wrecking the penthouse of Zeniru, the richest man in town. They promptly destroy the wrong building first, shrug it off as a learning experience, and march on toward the correct target. Meanwhile, Saitama is at home watching the news coverage of the whole thing. The report describes Hammerhead as a B-class criminal, 2 meters tall, over 200 kilos, once hospitalized 20 men in a single brawl. Then the anchor mentions that all the Paradisers have shaved heads and advises civilians to avoid any bald men they see on the street. Saitama absolutely loses it. They stole his look. He's been out here trying to be a hero for 3 years, and now he's going to get mistaken for a terrorist. He bolts out the door to deal with them personally, while the Paradisers are tearing through town. A guy on a bicycle calling himself Moomin Rider, fresh off helping a kid get a balloon out of a tree, actually shows up to stop them. He has 0 superpowers and gets instantly smacked aside. Out in the woods near Zeniru's building, a tower the locals apparently call the Golden Turd, the Paradisers are marching through when someone steps out to greet them. It's Sonic, a ninja who goes by Speedo Sound Sonic, currently under contract as Zeniru's bodyguard. He tells Hammerhead that no opponent of his has ever escaped alive, offers a one-time surrender deal, and when the Paradisers don't take it, proceeds to dismantle the entire group in seconds. He's moving faster than anyone can track, picking them off one by one. Hammerhead tries to fight back, sets a rock trap, even catches Sonic coming in straight, then tries to drop a tree on him, but none of it works. Sonic plants a kunai in the back of his head and calls it in, except the body disappears. Hammerhead survived because his skull is abnormally thick. He crawls away through the woods, furious, and runs directly into Saitama. Hammerhead immediately attacks. Saitama punches him so hard his battle suit explodes off his body. Hammerhead lands in a heap, completely naked, and starts pleading. Saitama looks at him for a second, tells him not to be bad anymore, and lets him go. Hammerhead runs off into the woods. Then Sonic shows up. He clocks Saitama's bald head and assumes he's a surviving Paradiser. Saitama tries to explain he's just a guy who's a hero for fun, but Sonic has never heard of him. That's not even the real issue though. Sonic is more bothered that Saitama read his attacks twice, and his ninja pride can't let that slide. He goes full speed, throwing shock waves and wind blade kicks, completely locked in on proving himself. Saitama mostly just tries to leave. He accidentally catches Sonic in a very unfortunate spot while trying to stop a punch short, and the broadcast cuts to a technical difficulties screen. Sonic recovers, declares himself Speedo Sound Sonic, announces he's suspending all other work to train specifically to defeat Saitama, demands his name, gets it, and vanishes into the night swearing vengeance. Later that night, back at Saitama's apartment, Saitama is reeling from a serious problem. Genos presses him on it. Nobody knows who Saitama is. 3 years of hero work, countless monsters and organizations taken down, and the news credited Mumen Rider, that same bicyclist, for stopping the Paradisers today. Saitama wasn't even mentioned. Genos pulls up the Hero Association website. Turns out there's an official registry, a test, and a whole system for becoming a recognized pro-hero. Self-proclaimed heroes are basically viewed as weirdos. Saitama had no idea any of this existed. He decides immediately. He's registering, and Genos is coming with him as his disciple. The episode closes with Hammerhead getting jumped by some mean-looking cyborgs working for an organization. Turns out he stole his battle suit from them. His thick skull saves his life for the 3rd time that day. He promises to get a real job after this. Meanwhile, Saitama is filling out his hero test application. Episode 5. The episode opens at Hero Association HQ, where a board meeting is already in session. They're wrapping up business on Mumen Rider, who apparently has zero interest in climbing out of Class C, before moving on to the main agenda, the 55th Hero Certification Exam. Over 11,000 candidates across 6 venues, a 22% jump from last time. The committee isn't impressed by the numbers. More candidates means nothing if quality drops, so they plan to be even harder on evaluations. Someone also mentions that a certain person of interest is expected to show up for this exam. Nobody confirms it outright, but the implication hangs in the room. Cut to the test location, and it's exactly as chaotic as you'd expect. Side-to-side jumps, a 1,500-meter run, weightlifting, shot put, vertical jumps, whack-a-mole, a punching machine. Saitama gets through all of it and immediately wants to go home. After the dust settles, Saitama and Genos compare notes outside. Genos found both the written and physical portions embarrassingly easy. Saitama agrees the written test was a joke, and the fitness stuff wasn't exactly a challenge for either of them. They figure passing is basically a formality at this point. Then the results come in. Genos opens his letter first. Perfect score. Certified Class S hero. He's not even surprised. Saitama opens his and announces he's also Class S. Except when Genos looks closer, the font is bigger on Saitama's letter. Then it becomes clear Saitama misread the letter entirely. He's Class C, 71 points. He mistook the top half of a C for an S. He's not that bothered by it though. He just says they should get it over with and go home. Genos offers to go complain to whoever's in charge. Saitama shuts that down immediately. At the newcomer seminar, a class of hero named Snek takes the stage and delivers a lecture that's equal parts congratulations and thinly veiled threats. He tells the new heroes to stay humble, warns them that their faces will be on the Hero Association website for the whole world to see, and makes it very clear that irresponsible behavior will cost them points and rank. Neither Saitama nor Genos pays any attention, and Snek hates it. Saitama spends the whole thing thinking about what to have for dinner. Genos fills in some background during the seminar. The Hero Association was founded roughly 3 years ago after the grandchild of a wealthy man named Agoni was attacked by a monster and saved by a random passerby. Agoni poured his fortune into building the whole system. That's it. That's the whole origin story. On the way out, Genos formally acknowledges Saitama as his mentor and says goodnight. Saitama watches him go and immediately starts second-guessing the whole disciple arrangement, especially with this particular guy. Meanwhile, Snek is venting to a colleague about the 2 newcomers' terrible attitudes. The colleague shuts him down fast. Genos scored perfect across the board and jumped straight to Class S, while Saitama, despite a rough essay score, broke basically every physical fitness record the association has ever recorded by margins that don't make sense. The colleague tells Snek he's already been outranked by Genos and Saitama might not be far behind. Snek does not take this well. Saitama, walking home alone, starts thinking through the ranking structure, Class C up to B up to A up to S, and quietly acknowledges that Genos is actually kind of incredible. Then he wonders whether this is really the kind of hero he wanted to be. Snek catches up to him and tries to pull a rookie crush move. It doesn't work. The next morning, Genos asks for a sparring match. Saitama agrees. The rules are simple. Dodge what you can. Go all out, no holding back. Keep going until Genos can't fight anymore. Genos pushes everything he has, speed, firepower, full incineration blasts, and none of it lands. Saitama either dodges or blocks every single attack. Genos starts getting frustrated and goes all out, only for Saitama to appear behind him, joking around. Genos snaps and tells Saitama to take the fight seriously. So Saitama does. He vanishes, reappears behind Genos, and throws a punch with everything behind it, then stops it an inch from Genos' face. When Genos turns around, there's nothing behind him but an empty ravine where a mountain used to be. Genos sits with it afterward, eating udon with Saitama, and admits to himself he can't even picture closing the gap between them. Then Amai Mask shows up, Class A, Rank 1, and pulls Genos aside. Everyone nearby loses their minds over how good-looking he is. Genos braces for a fight. It turns out Amai Mask just came to welcome him to the team and deliver a quiet warning about what's expected of Class S heroes. He leaves. Genos rejoins Saitama. Then Genos shows up at Saitama's apartment with all his stuff and asks to move in. Saitama says absolutely not. Genos mentions he brought rent money. Saitama asks if he brought a toothbrush. He did. Episode 6. 5 days into his professional hero career, Saitama is already running into a problem, and it's not monsters. Genos has moved into his apartment and is sitting in the corner quietly taking notes on Saitama's lessons and training regimen. Saitama panics internally, fully aware he has nothing to teach this guy and feels like he's running some kind of scam. He cycles through options, make up techniques, invent a spiritual theory, and lands on the only honest answer: strength training, which is useless for a cyborg. He's stuck. Then Genos drops something important. At the seminar, apparently, they mention that Class C heroes who go a full week without any hero activity get wiped from the registry. Saitama had no idea. Genos explains that the news only covers big disasters and monster attacks. Class C heroes are out there dealing with purse snatchers and random assaults, actively hunting for work like salespeople doing cold calls. Saitama immediately puts down his manga and bolts out the door. He tells Genos to stay behind. If an S-class hero is tagging along, Saitama won't get any credit. When Genos pushes back, Saitama improvises a whole speech about mindset over raw power, tells him to aim for the top 10 of Class S, and sends him off with a goal. Genos buys it completely. Saitama is relieved and slightly disgusted with himself. Then he runs and runs and runs. The city is dead quiet. He spends the whole day finding absolutely nothing and heads home defeated, deciding to leave tomorrow's problems to tomorrow's version of himself. The next day is exactly the same. Then Speedo Sound Sonic shows up, finally tracking Saitama down and ready for a rematch. Saitama brushes him off. He's busy. He's annoyed. He doesn't have time. Sonic tries to force the issue and nearly gets his face sliced open, but Saitama stops the blade without even looking. A bystander spots Saitama's intense expression and flags down a nearby hero, Tank Top Tiger, who rolls up ready to handle what he assumes is a dangerous criminal. Except the bystander clarifies, she means Saitama, who's been prowling the streets with a terrifying look on his face since yesterday. Tank Top Tiger tries to use the moment to boost his own image by picking a fight with the new guy. Sonic knocks him out with an exploding shuriken before anything comes of it. Then Sonic escalates. He starts threatening civilians and attacking the town, forcing Saitama to fight him. It's only after Sonic tears through a bunch of stuff that it clicks for Saitama. Sonic is a villain, which means taking him down counts as real hero work. So he does, and the whole thing gets logged as hero activity. His rank jumps from 388th all the way to 342nd. Meanwhile, at Hero Association HQ, the committee is discussing monster activity across multiple cities. That's when Tatsumaki shows up. She's an Esper, someone with psychic abilities, and she's Class S, Rank 2, the second strongest hero on the planet. She doesn't contribute anything to the meeting. She's mainly here so we know who she is. Powerful, stubborn, and very rude. Back to the investigation, the association is trying to get ahead of whatever's been causing a spike in monster activity. Most heroes report nothing unusual. City Z is the one exception. 2 Class A heroes, Golden Ball and Spring Mustachio, are sent into the abandoned area to investigate. They pick up on something moving and pursue it, eventually running into a monster with steel-hard tentacles that shrugs off Golden Ball's shaped memory bullets like they're nothing. Golden Ball goes down, Spring Mustachio pulls out his sword and holds his ground, deflecting attacks and unleashing a special move. But the monster dodges it. He calls for backup while trying to keep it busy and eventually goes down too. As the monster starts to leave, it runs into Saitama coming back from the store and attacks him. We can guess how that ends. The backup team arrives shortly after and finds no trace of the creature, just a massive hole in an abandoned building. Saitama took it out without realizing anyone was looking for it, and since nobody saw it happen, he gets 0 credit. The committee agrees the investigation needs to continue. Rumors start circulating among heroes that City Z has become terrifying for both humans and monsters alike. Whatever's living there, it's not the tentacle monster. The episode winds down at Saitama's apartment. Genos mentions he filled in the holes out front and casually reads out Saitama's updated ranking. Then he pulls up his own public popularity poll results. 6th overall, comments calling him the cyborg prince and praising his looks. Saitama tells him to stop reading immediately. Genos continues reading. Saitama tells him to stop again. Episode 7. The Hero Association summons Genos out of nowhere, and he heads to the City Z branch office, leaving Saitama behind with a casual "maybe you're getting fired" send-off. When Genos arrives, the place is nearly empty. The only other hero who showed up is Bang, Class S Rank 3, the Silver Fang, an old man with a calm, measured presence who gets straight to the point. Most of the other Class S heroes didn't bother making the trip. Doesn't matter, because the news Bang delivers is grim enough to explain why. A meteor is on a collision course with City Z, threat level Dragon, impact in 35 minutes. The association is asking if any nearby Class S heroes can do something about it. But Bang is already being honest. He doesn't think there's anything to be done. He tells Genos to evacuate with his loved ones, then mentions he himself won't be leaving. His family's dojo has stood for generations. He's not abandoning it. Genos isn't evacuating either. Saitama lives in City Z. With 21 minutes left, the meteor is already visible in the sky. Massive, impossible looking. Then another Class S hero shows up, Bofoy Rank 7, also known as Metal Knight. Except it's not actually Bofoy. What Genos is talking to is a remotely operated drone. Metal Knight clarifies this with zero apology. He's here to field test a new weapon, and the meteor is a convenient target. His life isn't at risk at all. He fires a barrage of missiles. The meteor barely reacts. Not potent enough, Genos is running out of time. His incineration cannon at full power needs 5 seconds to charge, and even then he's not sure it'll work. He starts spiraling, thinking about failure, about what happens if he destroys the meteor and the fragments still cause a disaster. Bang pulls him out of it with something simple. When your back's against the wall, just muddle through. The outcome won't change either way, so give it everything. That lands, Genos locks in and fires everything he has. It doesn't work. Genos drops to the ground, defeated, and asks Bang to evacuate. Then Saitama shows up. He tells Bang to get down, tells the old man to look after Genos, and launches himself at the meteor. One punch. The meteor shatters completely. The crowd below watches in stunned silence as the sky cracks open, and then the fragments start raining down, tearing through the city anyway. The building they're standing in collapses. City Z survives total annihilation, but the destruction is widespread. 3 days later, Genos is reflecting on the aftermath. He tells Saitama that if the association had called him in instead, and if he'd worked alongside Metal Knight, the damage could have been minimized. Saitama brushes it off. Metal Knight wasn't interested in cooperating, and nobody died, so they kept it to a minimum. Genos privately notes that some of the public is already blaming Saitama for the partial destruction of the city, but decides not to bring it up. Then the ranking update drops. Genos went from 17 to 16. Metal Knight from 7 to 6. Saitama jumped from Class C rank 342 all the way to rank 5. He loses his mind a little. Genos explains the threat level system. Every major threat is classified into one of 4 categories: Tiger, Demon, Dragon, and God. The meteor was Dragon, the second worst thing that can happen. Destroying a Dragon-level threat solo should have put Saitama in Class S, but the association assumed Metal Knight and Genos contributed significantly, and they absorbed some of the credit. Saitama heads out to check on the neighborhood. His favorite supermarket is destroyed. The crappy apartment building he got kicked out of is completely fine. That's when Tank Top Tiger finds him, and he's brought his brother, Tank Top Black Hole. Grip strength of 2,800 psi, the two of them have a plan. They whip up the crowd of displaced, angry residents, painting Saitama as a fraud who cheated his way up the rankings and caused the city's destruction. The mob chants at him to give up his hero license. It escalates fast, and then the brothers try to make it physical, framing it as righteous punishment in front of everyone watching. Saitama grabs both of them. They fold immediately. Tiger is begging for mercy before anything even happens. Then Saitama turns to the crowd and owns it. He's the one who smashed the meteor. Anyone with a complaint can say it to his face. Someone in the crowd starts in about a car, and Saitama tells them to shut up and take it up with the meteor. He doesn't do this for admiration. He does it because he wants to. Genos shows up just as it's winding down and walks him home. On the way, he tells Saitama he's the most incredible person he's ever met, and that even if the whole world turns on him, Genos will still follow him. Saitama tells him to stop being weird about it. Episode 8. A massive figure rises from the sea and starts monologuing at the humans on the shore, declaring that the clan of the sea folk will take the surface and use humanity as food. Before he even finishes the speech, someone in the crowd asks if he's related to an octopus. Meanwhile, word is already spreading about a certain Class C hero who keeps taking out threats in a single punch, though the public opinion is split, with plenty of people calling him a credit thief. Genos updates Saitama that he's now ranked 2 in Class C, right on the edge of Class B, which means no more weekly activity quotas. Saitama seems mildly interested in that part. Then the alerts start coming in. Multiple sea folk have appeared in City J and are tearing through anyone in sight. Class A hero Stinger, currently ranked 11th and riding a wave of popularity, is already on the ground fighting them. Saitama and Genos head towards City J, with Genos scouting ahead. Stinger is putting in serious work. He runs through the sea folk with his spear, pulling off a gigantic drill Stinger quadruple thrust and dropping the last few. He's exhausted but pumped, starting to convince himself these were maybe god-level threats and that he handled it alone. He doesn't get to finish that thought. The Deep Sea King is still out there. Back at Hero Association HQ, the threat level gets bumped from Tiger to Demon and an emergency evacuation order goes out for all of City J. Hero Lightning Max is already at the scene. He spots the Deep Sea King, figures it might be manageable one-on-one, and immediately gets wrecked. Can't feel his body. Then Class S hero Puri Prisoner shows up. He broke out of prison specifically for this, and he's furious that the Deep Sea King took down Stinger and Lightning Max, 2 heroes he was personally fond of. He announces he'll start at half power to gauge the monster. The Deep Sea King is not impressed. Puri Prisoner takes a hit that tears the hand-knit sweater his boyfriend made him, that pushes him over the edge. He strips down and transforms into angel style, unleashing a flurry of punches. The Deep Sea King takes the whole combo and tells him calmly that the point of a combination move is to finish your opponent. Each hit needs intent to kill. Then he demonstrates. Puri Prisoner goes down. Speedo Sound Sonic had tagged along during the prison break and watched the whole fight. The Deep Sea King turns on him next, but no matter what he tries, he can't lay a finger on Sonic until the rain kicks in and powers the monster up, suddenly closing the speed gap. Sonic decides this isn't his problem and bolts, promising to come back with a weapon. On the way out, he runs into Genos and tells him it's useless. All the heroes combined couldn't kill this thing. Meanwhile, the Deep Sea King tracks down an evacuation shelter packed with civilians. He walks in, tells everyone their deaths are inevitable, and offers to let them scream nicely while he kills them. The crowd panics. Mumin Rider, Class C, Rank 1 is already there, and he knows he can't win. He's terrified, admits he even wet himself, but decides he'll buy time for Class S heroes to arrive. A few other heroes trapped in the shelter step up too. A Class A ranked 38th, a Class B, and another Class C. The civilians get their hopes up seeing heroes rally together. The rain outside has the Deep Sea King fully transformed, grown massive and restored to full strength. He explains the surface air had dried him out, but the rain has him back. Now Puri Prisoner's hits didn't hurt even a little. Neither does anything else thrown at him. Genos is racing toward the shelter, but can't reach Saitama. Saitama, somewhere in the city, runs into a civilian who recognizes him as the Class C Rank 2 hero and asks if he's seen Genos. On a TV talk show, Class A Rank 1 Amai Mask, top of the popularity charts for 28 straight weeks, also a model, actor, and singer, is asked about the demon-level threat. He says he's only there to promote a new song, but takes a moment to say he finds it regrettable that heroes were completely beaten and hopes everyone keeps training. Back at the shelter, things are falling apart. The association is scrambling. Then a call comes in, someone demanding to speak to whoever owns the phone at the scene. He identifies himself as the hero Saitama. Episode 9. Right where things left off, Genos confronts the Deep Sea King and immediately blasts him. The crowd watching is stunned. They think it's over. Then the Deep Sea King, unfazed, counterattacks the cocky Genos, tearing off one of his arms. Meanwhile, back at the Hero Association, there's a brief debate about whether to send Saitama to the shelter at all. He's Class C Rank 2, which makes people nervous, but his fitness exam numbers were record-breaking, and he apparently helped deal with a meteor alongside Class S heroes. Someone floats the idea that this might be their chance to see what he's actually made of. They send him the location. Inside the shelter, things are already falling apart. Genos tells everyone who can walk to get out while he holds the Deep Sea King off. What follows is a brutal fight. Genos pulls out everything he has. Then the Deep Sea King launches an acid ball at a little girl, and Genos jumps in to shield her, losing his other arm in the process. Now armless, he gets tossed around like nothing. The Deep Sea King is moving to finish him when Mumin Rider crashes in with his bicycle. The crowd inside lights up seeing him. The Deep Sea King is immediately bored. Mumin Rider takes hit after hit. Between blows, he lays it all out. He knows he's not good enough for Class B, knows he has no shot at winning. knows everyone in the room knows it too. But he's not there to win. He's there because he has to try. The Deep-Sea King finds this tedious and moves to end it. The civilians are screaming encouragement the whole time. Mumen Rider charges in for one last attack and goes down hard. Then Saitama drops in, catching Mumen Rider out of the air before he hits the ground. He checks on Genos for a second, confirms he's alive, and turns to the Deep-Sea King. The monster hits him with what should be a devastating punch. Saitama's still standing. The Deep-Sea King launches into a whole speech about being the pinnacle of all life on Earth, ruler of the seas, apex of every living organism. Saitama cuts him off mid-monologue, points out it's raining and suggests they wrap this up. One punch, done hard enough that the force blows the clouds away and stops the rain. The shelter erupts, civilians piling praise on Saitama, but almost immediately, the mood shifts. A loudmouth in the crowd announces that if a Class C hero could finish the monster off so easily, then all the other heroes who fought it must be useless weaklings who deserve no credit. The crowd starts buying it. Saitama, not wanting all the credit, plays into it himself, says the other heroes softened the Deep-Sea King up, and he just delivered the final blow. The civilians start calling him a fraud, but they swing back around to giving the other heroes their due, which is exactly what Saitama wanted. Genos notices and asks if this is really what Saitama wants. Saitama doesn't answer directly. Genos says he won't interfere with whatever path Saitama's chosen, but leaves the door open for when it eventually becomes a problem. Back at the apartment, a Hero Association drone delivers mail. Genos has a gushing fan letter. Saitama gets one calling him a cowardly, cheating fraud. Then, tucked at the end, one more, a simple thank you note from someone he saved. He seems more interested in that one than either of the others. There's also a letter from the association. He's been bumped to Class C Rank 1 and is being offered a promotion to Class B. He heads in for the interview, answers some questions, gets analyzed, and the review board decides to let him move up. He figures it's worth it. No more weekly quotas, and he can't stay Class C forever while Genos is already Class S promotion approved. Afterward, he ends up at an Odin stall. Mumen Rider is already there. Mumen Rider tells him he was the one who sent the thank you letter and wants to treat him to a meal to celebrate the promotion. The two of them share a quiet meal, and for a moment things are calm. Then, somewhere else entirely, a woman named Madame Shibabawa starts convulsing and screaming that the Earth is doomed. Episode 10. Things kick off with a massive dinosaur creature called the Ancient King declaring that with the subterranean and deep-sea kings gone, the Terror Lizard clan is finally ready to reclaim the Earth. He launches into the full villain monologue, ruler of the dinosaurs, apex lifeform, the whole routine. The problem is that the hero he's talking to is on the phone and couldn't care less. The hero tells him to shut up mid-speech, finishes her call, and then just casually wipes the Ancient King out by dropping a meteor on him with her Esper powers. That's the end of that. The hero is Tatsumaki, Class S, Rank 2. Meanwhile, back at his dojo, Bang, also known as Silverfang Class S Rank 3, is trying to pitch his fighting style to Saitama and Genos. Neither of them bites. Saitama calls it a sales pitch and tells Genos to do it. Genos says he's looking for absolute destructive power, not self-defense. Bang's one remaining disciple, Chironko, steps up to defend the dojo's honor and immediately backs down. The second Bang gives him a look. Bang explains the situation. One of his former top disciples, a guy named Garo, went rogue, beat most of Bang's skilled students badly enough to put them out of commission, and scared the rest into quitting. The name clearly carries some weight with Bang. He gave Garo a beating and expelled him, but the damage to the dojo was already done. Before anything else can happen, a Hero Association rep shows up with an emergency summons for all Class S heroes. Genos gets pulled in too. Bang asks Saitama if he wants to come along since he's got nothing going on, and Saitama shrugs and tags along. At Hero Association HQ, the Class S roster starts rolling in. Atomic Samurai, Metal Bat, Tank Top Master, Flashy, Flash, Watchdog Man, Super Ollie Blackluster, Pig God, Drive Knight, Zombieman, King, Child Emperor, almost the full lineup minus Metal Knight in the Rank 1 Hero Blast, who nobody can reach. Tornado Rank 2 is already there and immediately goes after Saitama for showing up at all, calling it beneath everyone and telling him to leave. Saitama just stares at her like she's a lost child, which does not go over well. Once everyone settles, an association official named Sitch gets to the point. Madame Shibabawa, the seer who correctly predicted disasters with 100% accuracy, is dead. She choked on a cough drop while having a coughing fit mid-vision. Before she went, she managed to scrawl one final prophecy. Sitch holds it up. It says the Earth is in trouble. That's it. Child Emperor thinks it sounds dumb and asks if he can leave for cram school. Sitch shuts that down fast. The word trouble was never in any of Shibabawa's previous predictions, which means whatever's coming is beyond dragon level. And it's happening within the next 6 months, possibly as soon as today, that lands. Then the building shakes. Something is attacking Hero Association HQ. Outside, the Sky King and his minions show up leading what looks like an aerial assault on City A, but they get cut down almost immediately, revealing the real threat. A massive alien warship hovering above the city alongside a multi-headed flying monster. The building holds because Metal Knight built it, but City A outside gets wiped out in an instant. 2 civilians survive and are about to be finished off by the monster before one of Atomic Samurai's disciples, Ian, saves them. Ian struggles against the creature, which cuts off his arm and then splits into multiple copies of itself. He's about done for when Atomic Samurai shows up to bail him out. The catch is the monsters can regenerate and merge back into one bigger abomination. Bang, Metal Bat and Puri Puri Prisoner join the fight to back them up. Meanwhile, back inside, the association staff and remaining heroes argue over how to deal with the warship in the sky. They can't agree on a plan. Tornado has heard enough and says she'll handle it herself. Genos moves to follow but gets talked down. King isn't worried though. Saitama has already slipped out of the building and is on his way to the ship. Cut to Saitama, already aboard, tearing through aliens. And deeper in the ship, the real threat, the leader sitting on his throne, waiting, looks every bit the part. Episode 11, inside the alien ship, the damage is already catastrophic. Giryu Ganshup, one of Boros's top lieutenants, is in full panic mode. Guribus is dead. Bang has been tearing through the ship for 4 minutes straight and 23% of the vessel is already wrecked. He scrambles to report to Lord Boros, who stays completely calm. Boros tells him not to panic, points out that the power sphere is still intact so the ship isn't going down, and orders Giryu Ganshup to pull Melzargard back to deal with the intruder. Then Giryu Ganshup has to break the news that Guribus is already gone. Boros takes a beat, then tells him to get Melzargard back immediately. Melzargard, though, is a little busy. Down on the surface, the news is covering the disaster. City A is nearly completely demolished, roads are closed, officials are on high alert. Meanwhile, the Class S heroes on the ground are in a brutal fight with Melzargard and quickly figuring out that direct physical attacks do nothing. The creature regenerates instantly, and a single hit tears off a limb. Atomic Samurai's crew is struggling. Metal Bat is just smashing away, because that's all he knows, and Bang is right there with him. Atomic Samurai insists there's nothing he can't cut down. Then Metal Bat gets lucky. He knocks something loose from Melzargard, a small marble-like object, and the creature goes absolutely berserk trying to get it back. That's the tell. The marbles are the weak points. Atomic Samurai locks in immediately, slicing through heads one by one until he finds and destroys the vital marble inside each one. Melzargard loses a head that apparently took 100 years to grow, and he's furious about it, but he's got a backup plan. He's already called in a bombardment from the ship to wipe out everyone in the area. Up in the ship, Saitama is still cutting through everything in his path. Giryu Ganshup tries a telepathic broadcast warning him to leave immediately or face total annihilation. Saitama says he'd actually love to leave, but he's completely lost. Giryu Ganshup, thinking he has him, offers to guide him out, tells him to take a right. Saitama immediately goes left. Giryu Ganshup loses it, and Saitama just keeps walking deeper into the ship, eventually stumbling into what looks like a control room. Giryu Ganshup is there. He looks like a giant octopus. He's furious, and he unleashes his full power, super telekinetic gravitational wave, followed by a telekinetic shower of rubble, hyping himself up as the supreme telekinetic force in the universe, explaining black holes, the whole speech. Saitama just throws a pebble back at him and tells him all he's doing is tossing rocks around. Anyone could do that. Giryu Ganshup goes down. Before he's completely gone, Saitama asks him where the boss is. The bombardment fires anyway. Back on the surface, the shells are incoming, and there's no time to evade. Then Tornado shows up, catches every single shell mid-air, and sends them right back at the ship. She's completely unbothered, tells the Class S heroes on the ground they couldn't even handle one small fry, and suggests they consider dropping back to Class C. The shells slam back into the ship and the fight below continues. Melzargard is down to 1 marble, and the heroes are closing in. Then he turns the tables, smashing Bang through multiple walls and rounding on the others, promising them the same treatment. Mumin Rider is already on the ground doing search and rescue. Stinger and Lightning Max show up to help pull survivors out of the rubble. Then Saitama arrives at the throne room at the top of the ship. Boros is waiting. He's massive, sealed inside armor designed to contain his power, and he immediately senses something different about Saitama. He introduces himself formally, leader of the pirate band known as Dark Matter, dominator of the universe, Boros. Saitama fumbles the title back at him and gets right to the point about City A being trashed. Boros explains everything. He spent years ravaging the universe until there was no one left who could challenge him. A seer told him that on a faraway planet, someone existed who could match him. He traveled nearly 20 years to get here. Saitama tells him that's stupid. You can't just attack other planets because you're bored. He punches Boros straight into the wall, but Boros gets back up, completely unharmed. Boros shatters his own armor. It's time. Episode 12. The fight at the top of the ship is still going. Boros is stunned that Saitama is keeping up with him even after his true power is fully unleashed, and Saitama just casually agrees that he's pretty strong. Down below, the ground battle is wrapping up. Tornado is going absolutely berserk on the ship from the outside, redirecting fire and using her psychic power on the rubble around her. The heroes on the ground are losing their minds watching her. Some of them are ready to just give up and admit she might bring the whole thing down solo. Before things fully settle, Drive Knight pulls Genos aside. He introduces himself, Class S, Rank 9, and tells him something blunt and cryptic. Metal Knight is his enemy. He says Genos will understand soon enough, but for now, stay away from him. Then he just leaves. Genos doesn't get a real answer, just that warning sitting in his head. Back on the surface, Melzergard is still putting the pressure on the heroes until Bang walks back in, completely unscathed, which throws Melzergard off long enough for Atomic Samurai to land the killing slice. Bang follows up by grabbing Melzergard's last remaining ball and crushing it, finishing him off. Atomic Samurai admits the pattern was obvious enough by now that even a monkey could have worked it out. The heroes call it a win, though Metal Bat immediately points out there's still a massive ship hanging overhead. Up on the ship, Boros is going all in. He unleashes Meteoric Burst, explaining that it converts his body's energy into raw speed and power beyond what living flesh should be able to handle. Burns his life force to do it, so it's a last resort. He hits Saitama hard, monologues about his species' regenerative abilities, heals a destroyed arm right in front of him, and tells Saitama he's just going to keep getting worn down. Saitama tells him to shut up. Boros pours everything he has into hammering Saitama with a barrage of devastating hits, eventually kneeing him in the gut and launching him clean off the planet. Saitama lands on the moon, completely unbothered, takes a second to mess around with the low gravity, then jumps back to Earth and crashes down right in front of Boros. Then Boros fires off his absolute final move, collapsing star-roaring cannon, everything he has, enough to blast Saitama and the planet both. Saitama counters with his own final move, Serious Punch. The punch wipes out the beam, obliterates Boros, levels the ship, and splits the clouds visible across the entire world. Boros goes down. He's still conscious, barely, and tells Saitama the prophecy was real. The battle was hard fought. Saitama says yeah, it was. Boros calls him a liar. He knows Saitama had strength to spare. It was never a real battle. He dies knowing he never had a chance. The ship starts going down. The power sphere is broken, and the whole crew inside is in full panic, screaming, shoving, trying to get out. On the ground, Bang grabs his disciple and bolts. The other heroes scatter. Tornado blasts clear. The ship crashes. Then a My Mask shows up. He was filming a drama nearby, heard the chaos, and rolled in after everything was already over. He takes one look at the destroyed City A and immediately lays into the Class S heroes for letting it get this bad. Metal Bat pushes back. They handled it. The city was already gone before they even got outside. A My Mask doesn't care. He says this kind of result is an embarrassment and anyone this useless should retire. He also drops why he stays at Class A Rank 1, to keep weak heroes from ever making it to Class S. Metal Knight shows up right after, and Genos confronts him directly, asks if he's there to salvage the alien tech for weapons. Metal Knight confirms it without blinking. Powerful weapons are necessary for peace, he says. Then some alien survivors are found nearby. A My Mask handles that situation himself, and it's not pretty. Saitama climbs out of the wreckage and reunites with Genos. Tornado immediately gets in Saitama's face about being a Class B who had no business boarding the ship. Genos starts rattling off insults at her on Saitama's behalf until Saitama shuts it down. Tornado dips. The narration takes over from there. City A is gone, wiped off the map. The alien attack is massive news for a while. Then the coverage fades. Metal Knight uses the salvaged ship to rebuild Hero Association headquarters into a full steel fortress. New roads, faster deployment, housing for Class A and above. Then a new monster surfaces. Pluton, king of the underworld. Threat level dragon, tearing through City Y. Genos shows up first, saving a kid from getting crushed and introducing Saitama to the monster as a great man who's a hero for fun. Then Saitama shows up. One punch. Genos calls Saitama the strongest. Saitama is furious. It ended in one hit again. Episode 13. Saitama and Genos are out running errands. Hot pot ingredients are done. Now they need toilet paper and shampoo. While they're out, Genos spots an action figure of someone in a store display and is immediately ready to call the toy company about getting one made for Saitama. Saitama shuts that down fast and tells him to keep moving. Before they get far, a monster shows up in the street. Some reptile-obsessed freak who's apparently mutated himself and is now declaring all the women in the area belong to him. The crowd is terrified for about 2 seconds until they spot someone else nearby. It's King. Class S, rank 7, the so-called strongest hero on Earth. The crowd loses it, chanting his name, completely convinced he showed up specifically to handle this. The monster takes one look at King, immediately panics, and drops to his knees, begging for forgiveness. King didn't do anything. He was just shopping. He awkwardly pushes through the crowd, picks up the limited edition copy of Heartbeat Hottie Sisters 2 he came for, and dips. Genos clocks the whole thing and suggests they hang back and observe King's abilities. Then a much bigger problem shows up, a robot called G4, built by the organization specifically hunting King down to collect combat data. The crowd hears the low rumbling sound coming off King and assumes it's the legendary King engine, the heartbeat of a warrior so powerful no monster has ever survived hearing it. In reality, King is internally spiraling. He's terrified. He's a 29-year-old unemployed otaku whose heart is literally just pounding out of fear. His whole reputation is a complete accident. Monsters kept showing up near him. Someone else always defeated them, and somehow he kept getting the credit. He never fought anyone. He's never even been in a real fight. King buys himself 10 minutes by telling G4 he needs to use the bathroom first, otherwise he can only fight at half power and the data will be skewed. G4 agrees to wait, but warns it will kill 10 people for every extra minute King takes. King bolts on his way out. He sees Genos already engaging G4. Saitama asks if Genos needs a hand, but Genos says he wants to handle it himself, so Saitama heads off. King makes it home, tries to decompress with his new game, and then Saitama just climbs through his window 22 floors up. King is thrown off, but Saitama is completely unbothered, asks for tea, gets curious about the game, and before long the two of them are sitting on the floor playing co-op together. Saitama is genuinely having a good time. King is confused about why this Class B hero is acting so casual with him, but goes along with it. Then a giant bird monster smashes in at King's apartment. Saitama stops it with one hand and turns to King. Isn't he going to fight it? King just stands there frozen, drowning in the realization of how much of a fraud he is. While Genos, across town, is struggling against G4's lasers and trying to come up with a plan, King finally cracks. He tells Saitama the truth. Everything. The reputation is fake. The King engine is just his heart hammering in his chest because he's scared. He's never actually defeated anything. He realizes Saitama is the hero who's actually been saving him all those times. Saitama listens to the whole confession. By the time King finishes, the bird monster is already gone. Saitama took it out. He's got a scratch on his eye, shrugs it off, says victory takes the sting away. King is overwhelmed, apologizes, asks if Saitama is angry. Saitama isn't. He doesn't lecture him, doesn't make it a big thing. He just points out that King is everyone's hero now, whether he meant to be or not, and asks him straight, is he going to keep lying or quit? King says he can't find the courage to decide either way. Saitama's response is simple, just get strong. Then he leaves, saying he'll be back to play more games. King stands there with that sitting on him. Meanwhile, Genos manages to pin G4 down, only for a smaller cyborg to pop out of the wreckage and restart the fight. He eventually brings the remains to Dr. Kusino and asks him to install any compatible components. Kusino agrees to look into it, but takes a moment to check in on something else, the rogue cyborg that destroyed Genos' hometown. He notes that Genos has been more focused on hero work lately. Genos is clear. He hasn't forgotten. He swears he'll find that cyborg and destroy him personally. Kusino asks him to call him first if that day comes, instead of going alone. Elsewhere, a Hero Association official named Sitch holds a meeting at HQ, pulling in criminals, assassins, and bounty targets to ask for help, with some A-class heroes on hand for security. Monster threats are spiking, 6 times the usual rate. The prophecy of disaster is looking more real by the day. The association is offering wiped slates in exchange for cooperation. Most of the criminals want nothing to do with it and walk out. One of them, Speedo Sound Sonic, has a different agenda entirely. He's been looking into Saitama, dug up his profile, noted the off-the-charts physical test scores, the rapid class climb. He's convinced Saitama is hiding something, and he's not letting it go. Back at King's place, Saitama is still there. They're deep into co-op mode, bickering over loot and power-ups. Controller in pieces on the floor. Episode 14. The episode opens back at the Hero Association's meeting with criminals and lowlifes. One of the officials is trying to explain why they've brought this crowd together. Monster threats are spiking hard, the current roster of heroes isn't cutting it, and they're willing to pay for every monster taken down. The criminals aren't impressed. One of them pushes back and challenges everyone in the room to a fight. Then a guy named Guru steps up and the whole room shifts. He's got this easy, unbothered energy, announces he has a thing for monsters, and immediately invites everyone in the room to come at him. The A-class heroes take the bait. He drops them fast and clean, barely breaking a sweat. The criminals start cheering him on, but Guru turns to them and tells them they're next. He doesn't see himself as human. He's on the monster side, full stop. He takes out the criminals too and leaves the place a bloodbath. The building security calls for S-class heroes to respond. Guru knows he can't take on multiple S-class heroes yet, but he believes he's the world-ending catastrophe predicted to come in 6 months. He just needs to get stronger. With that, he walks out. Meanwhile, Genos gives Saitama a rank update. Saitama has climbed to Class B, rank 7. Genos is now Class S, rank 14. Saitama is a little surprised given that he doesn't bother reporting half his wins, but Genos explains that eyewitnesses have been doing it for him. People are starting to know who he is. Genos even floats the idea that fan clubs might pop up soon. Saitama shoots that down immediately, then turns it around and points out Genos doesn't even have one. Genos quietly mentions that he does. Actually, before that can go anywhere, Genos detects something moving too fast to be human outside the apartment. He heads out to intercept. It's Speedo Sound Sonic, who's tracked down Saitama's address and shows up declaring himself Saitama's rival, ready to settle things. Genos recognizes him immediately, calls him the pervert, and tells him one more step means elimination. Sonic takes that as an invitation. The two of them go at it while Saitama is inside, completely distracted by King's video game. Then a different problem shows up at the door. 3 heroes, led by a woman who introduces herself as Hellish Blizzard, Class B rank 1. She tells Saitama that every new Class B hero is required to formally introduce themselves to her. Saitama plays it completely straight and says hi. She pushes further, explains that in the hero world, factions matter and she wants him in her group. She'll guarantee he stays near the top of Class B. Saitama cuts through it fast, asks her directly if she's threatening him, because she's worried he'll take her spot, then tells her not to bother since he's planning to move up to Class A anyway. Her 2 guys move to rough him up. He doesn't flinch. Blizzard steps in herself, using telekinesis to conjure up a tornado that she hits him with. Saitama is unfazed, lets her finish, then tells her plainly, surrounding yourself with people you can dominate just to feel strong isn't what heroes are supposed to do. The whole faction thing, crushing newcomers, obsessing over rankings, none of it matters. Blizzard doesn't take that well. The fight gets interrupted when Genos and Sonic's battle spills back into the area. Their fight has been dragging at a stalemate. Genos can't hit Sonic. Sonic can't damage Genos. Genos kicks in his new implants for a speed boost, pushes Sonic hard, even slices off some of his hair. Sonic answers with afterimages, and Genos decides to just blow the whole area up until Saitama stops him. Saitama tells them they have no reason to fight anyway, and offers to take Sonic on seriously, just this once. Sonic squares up with Saitama directly and unleashes his ultimate technique, 10 clone afterimages. Saitama puts out something like 50 of his own, and the mere shockwaves knock Sonic out cold. Sonic hits the ground hard, but survives. Blizzard watches all of this and ends up in a quiet moment, reflecting on her own situation. She's been holding Class B rank 1 specifically because her older sister, Terrible Tornado, is Class S and has always been out of reach. Controlling Class B was her way of building towards something. Genos asks her why she doesn't aim for Class A rank 1, and she explains the top 4 are out of her league. Ranks 4, 3, and 2 are all Atomic Samurai students, and rank 1 is Amai Mask. She admits Saitama is strong, but tells herself he's nothing like those guys or King. The episode wraps with King showing up looking for the game Saitama borrowed. Saitama casually mentions he erased the save. King takes it surprisingly well. Blizzard watches the two of them interact, like old friends, completely baffled at how Saitama knows so many S-class heroes. Genos observes that heroes just seem to be drawn to Saitama and quietly concludes it's because he's strong. The closing scene cuts to the association giving Saitama and Genos their official hero names, Caped Baldy and Demon Cyborg. The officials seem pleased, Elsewhere, Garou is already back in action, dropping a hero, tank top vegetarian in the street just because the guy crossed his path. Episode 15. The episode opens at Bang's dojo. Bang is standing over Chiranko, his top disciple, who's flat on the ground after a brutal training session. Bang tells him flat out that he has no talent for martial arts, that he's learned nothing in 6 months, and expels him from the dojo on the spot. Chiranko thanks him and leaves. That sends Chiranko straight to Saitama's apartment, where he finds Saitama, Genos, and King all hanging around. He explains that Bang's behavior has completely flipped. The training went full contact, the beatings were merciless, and the warm-hearted master he knew seems gone. He wants to know if anyone has any idea what's going on. King and Saitama are barely paying attention, more focused on their game, but Genos steps in with a theory. It probably has to do with Garou, Bang's former disciple, now on the Hero Association's wanted list as a violent monster. Apparently there was an incident at headquarters. The association has been keeping it quiet, and Bang has personally volunteered to take Garou down. Genos figures Bang pushed Chiranko away to keep him out of danger. Chiranko takes that hard and decides he can't just sit back and be a burden to his master. He needs to find Garou and stop him himself. Saitama, meanwhile, is still stuck on the fact that Silverfang is a way cooler hero name than Caped Baldy. Now it flips to Garou out in the streets. A hero called Moomin Rider crosses his path, and Garou immediately sizes him up as prey, someone he can use to push his evolution into monster territory. Before anything can happen, Tank Top Master shows up with his Tank Topper army crew, looking for payback. Garou isn't rattled. He tells them they're all dying here. The fight kicks off and Tank Top Master unloads his signature move. Take that tackle, and his crew piles on. For a second it looks like Garou might actually be in trouble. He's still standing after taking the full hit, which shocks everyone. Then Garou shifts gears and starts dismantling them one by one. Moomin Rider steps in to stop Tank Top Master from finishing Garou off, pointing out that a hero shouldn't use his power to kill a human. Tank Top Master agrees and tells Garou to stop attacking heroes. But Garou refuses and the fight starts again. This time Garou goes all out and absolutely wrecks Tank Top Master, drops Moomin Rider, and works through the rest of the Tank Top crew. Bang and his older brother Bomb arrive just after too late. The scene is a wreck. Word spreads fast. Back at Saitama's place, Chiranko has heard the rumor that the hero hunter just took down Tank Top Master, a Class S hero. The group is shaken. Chiranko is spiraling. Saitama is curious about the martial arts angle. He asks Chiranko if he knows anyone good to spar with. Chiranko suggests Bang, but Saitama brushes that off. Chiranko, trying to be helpful, digs out a crumpled tournament ticket, a mixed martial arts competition he'd registered for but has to forfeit because he's injured. He hands it to Saitama just to go watch and study different fighting styles. The top prize is 3 million yen. Saitama clocks that immediately. Meanwhile, Garou is still hunting. He tracks down Golden Ball, a Class A hero, at a pub and takes the fight outside to a parking lot. Golden Ball is sharp. He reads Garou's movements, lands a hit on his right leg, and uses a multi-shot technique that Garou has to dodge with minimal movement. It's not enough. Garou takes him down. Spring Mustachio shows up right after, having been waiting for Golden Ball at the pub. He's smooth about it, already knows who Garou is, and the two of them go at it in the tight space. Garou points out that all of Spring Mustachio's fancy moves are already documented in the Hero Almanac. Once he had that info, the fight was over. He drops him too, and tells both of them he'll only keep getting stronger. The episode closes back with Saitama. Genos has apparently been on the phone with a doctor about grafting artificial hair fibers into Saitama's scalp without asking. Saitama shuts that down immediately. Then he holds up Chiranko's tournament ticket and announces he's entering the fighting tournament as Chiranko, just out of curiosity to see what this whole martial arts thing is actually about. Episode 16. The episode opens on a kid watching a superhero show. Justice Man shows up right when the villain's about to win, throws his justice punch, and Devil Earl goes down like always. The kid watching is furious about it. He can't stand that the monster tries so hard and still loses every time. He starts ranting. Monsters have things they want too. They work for it. So why does the popular side always win, while the hated side always loses? He decides right then that if that's how the world works, he'll become the strongest monster himself and lose to no one. Then it snaps to the present, and it's clearly a young Garou we just watched. He's waking up on a pile of trash bags with no memory of being knocked out the night before. Meanwhile, the Hero Association is in full damage control mode. Word has gotten out that Garou attacked Director Zameet, and the executives are rattled. The higher-ups decide that directors need Class S escorts whenever they leave the building. Metal Bat gets tapped for the job, and he is not happy about it. He's in the middle of a boss fight in a game and has zero interest in babysitting suits. He gets dragged into it anyway. His assignment turns out to be escorting a pompous executive and his spoiled kid around a conveyor belt sushi restaurant. The kid keeps putting plates back on the belt. The executive keeps asking for caviar and complaining about the tuna grade, and Metalbat is visibly dying inside. He steps away to take a call from his little sister. He'd apparently promised her a shopping trip and had to bail last minute. He tells her he'll make it up to her and hangs up, clearly guilty about it. Things escalate fast when a monster shows up and grabs the executive's son. Metalbat shuts that down immediately, makes it clear neither of them is leaving until the bill is paid, and then gets to work. He handles the threat, keeps the two of them safe, and the executive's kid is absolutely starstruck. Now it flips to the Super Fight tournament registration. Saitama shows up using Chiranko's name, writes down a fighting style he can barely remember, and starts scoping out the bracket. He notices a guy named Bakuzan is seated high, and someone called Sourface is in the opposite bracket as a top seed. Almost immediately, someone recognizes him as Chiranko and starts talking to him like they go way back. Saitama plays along badly. That guy turns out to be Sourface, a former dojo member who left Bang's school. He explains his two reasons for entering. 1, the tournament is a launch pad for serious martial artists, and 2, there's unfinished business. He lays out the story of a previous tournament where a masked fighter called Wolfman won the whole thing, but the real Wolfman was found unconscious afterward. The winner was an imposter. Because of that incident, aliases and headwear are now strictly banned. Saitama quietly clocks that he's already lied about his fighting style and that this could mean a lifetime ban, a lawsuit, or worse if anyone finds out. Sourface then drops the real bomb. He's figured out the fake Wolfman was Guru. That was 6 months ago, right before Bang expelled him. Sourface explains that Guru had been hiding his true nature the whole time he was at the dojo, and one day when Bang was out, he declared there was nothing left to learn and demanded a real fight. Sourface blames Guru for the whole dojo falling apart and says he's here to prove he can hold his own against him. He tells Saitama, still thinking he's Chiranko, that an amateur wouldn't survive this tournament and that if they somehow meet in the ring, he'll show him what a real fight looks like. Saitama quietly admits to himself he genuinely doesn't remember what a real fight feels like anymore. Back in the city, Metalbat is still on duty when a centipede monster shows up alongside another monster, releasing sleeping gas. He goes at it full swing and barely scratches it, but he notices it flinches when he targets its face. He locks that in. The gas starts pulling him under, so he cracks himself in the head with his own bat to shake it off. The fight is brutal. He takes serious punishment but keeps getting back up, his fighting spirit pushing him harder the more damage he absorbs. He drops both monsters in one swing each. Then the ground splits open and Elder Centipede, threat level dragon, bursts out. Metalbat tells the other heroes to get the director and his son clear while he handles it. He charges in, finds the shell impossibly hard, gets thrown around, but climbs the thing's back to hammer at its face the way he learned earlier. It does damage, but the sheer size of the monster is overwhelming, and he gets smacked aside again, crash landing right next to Guru, who's been watching from a distance. Guru assumes he's dead. Metalbat gets right back up. Guru tells him he's hunting him now. Metalbat points at the Elder Centipede and tells him to get real. Guru doesn't care. He's locked onto Metalbat as his next target. The episode closes back at the tournament. Suiryu is walking toward the venue and runs into a couple of women headed the same way. He asks if he can tag along. They recognize him immediately. Episode 17. The Hero Association is in full crisis mode. Word comes in that they've lost contact with Metalbat, and the brass is rattled. The massive centipede monster from last episode is still out there and rated threat level dragon. The higher-ups are scrambling, noting it far surpasses anything they've dealt with in years, and that their numbers might not be enough. Reports start flooding in from multiple cities at once, heroes getting cornered and overwhelmed, and the whole operation starts buckling under the weight of it. They realize this isn't random. Demon-level monsters are striking every city at the same time in coordination. Back on the street, Metalbat is barely standing. Guru's already clocked that he's running on fumes. Bones broken, blood everywhere. Somehow still upright on pure stubbornness. What's throwing Guru off is that the more damage Metalbat takes, the harder and faster his swings get. Guru parries everything and sends him flying, thinking it's over, only to notice his own hands are shaking. If even one of those hits had landed, it might have ended him. That's when he spots it. Metalbat has crept up on him, an inch from caving his face in. Then Zenko shows up. Metalbat's little sister walks right into the middle of it, and Metalbat just freezes. Guru, confused, takes the opening and clocks him again. Zenko steps between them and says they can't fight, because Metal Bat promised her he wouldn't when she's around. And somehow that holds. Garou backs off. He tells Metal Bat he gets to live for now and walks. Metal Bat, still barely conscious, immediately pivots to worrying about the executive and his kid he was supposed to be protecting. Zenko grabs him and refuses to let him go. He tells her to head home. She calls him a stubborn blockhead. Watching from a distance, a couple of monsters have been tailing Garou. One of them floats the idea of grabbing Zenko as a hostage. Garou shuts that down himself. The other, Phoenix Man, approaches Garou directly and hands him a card, an invitation to join the Monster Association. Garou rips it to shreds. Phoenix Man just laughs, tells him they'll cross paths again, and flies off. He calls off the other monsters, including the Elder Centipede, and they snatch the executive's son on their way out. Meanwhile, the Super Fight 22 tournament kicks off. All the competitors get introduced to the crowd: Lightning Max, Ring Ring, Sourface, Bakuzan, and a 4-time champion named Suryu who's been traveling for 3 years and says he's here for the prize money. Bakuzan spots Suryu and immediately marks him as a target, saying that beating him would make Bakuzan the strongest active fighter. Suryu senses something sharp in the air, but stays relaxed. Saitama, still going by Chiranko, gets called out almost immediately by Sourface for his unknown fighting style and his badly tied belt. Sourface tells him to withdraw before he gets hurt. Saitama doesn't really engage. Sourface also brings up that Bang was supposed to be chief judge, but canceled last minute to go do hero work, and he's furious about it. The whole exchange goes sideways fast, but Saitama just lets it roll off him. Bang and Bomb are out in the city on Garou's trail when they come across a monster, a former human martial artist whose hunger for real violence eventually turned him into something else. Bang tells Bomb to sit this one out and handles it. They press on, knowing Garou is still out there somewhere. Back at the tournament, the first match wraps up quickly. Lightning Max takes out Ring Ring without much trouble, barely breaking a sweat. In the stands, someone explains to Saitama that he's been seated low, meaning the tournament organizers think he's weak and have placed him where it's harder to advance. Saitama takes that in. Another match ends with a guy losing badly, and it turns out his girlfriend never even showed up to watch. The crowd goes through a whole emotional roller coaster over it before the next bout gets underway. Episode 18. The tournament is back in full swing, and the crowd is buzzing before the next match even starts. Suryu steps into the ring against Lightning Max, and the energy shifts immediately. Nobody expected to see him competing again. Max is a class A hero locked in and ready, telling Suryu he plans to use their match to test a new technique he's been developing. He's training with purpose, chasing the strength he needs to survive what's out there. Suryu listens, almost amused, and reflects quietly that his own reason for seeking strength was simpler. He just wanted to live easy without a care in the world. Then he ends it in one kick. Lightning big wheel double axe kick, and Max is done. A class A hero taken out by a single move, and Suryu barely looks winded. In the stands, Genos watches with quiet intensity. He acknowledges that there are people stronger than heroes operating completely under the radar, just like Saitama once was. He wonders if this man could satisfy his master's desire to experience real martial arts, then immediately doubts it. Nobody here is at that level. Meanwhile, word reaches the arena staff that a group of violent monsters is closing in on the venue. The official who gets the news wants to announce an evacuation, but Suryu shuts that down. He points out the obvious: the building is packed wall to wall with martial arts masters. It's the safest place anyone could be. He tells them to let the tournament run and promises to personally exterminate every monster that makes it inside. Genos is already handling business outside. He's sweeping through City C, taking down monsters one after another, getting location updates from the association, and moving fast. One of the monsters is a cockroach type, quick, attacking from blind spots, impossible to track. Genos can't lock onto its movements. He pulls out a last resort, an ultra-strong adhesive, a component Dr. Kuseno installed after his fight with Sonic that Genos was originally reluctant to use. It stops the monster cold, and Genos unleashes an attack, but the cockroach sacrifices its own legs to escape. Genos turns to leave, only to be ambushed by something else. Back at the tournament, matches keep rolling. Sourface, former number 2 disciple under Bang, grinds through his bracket, wins with a chokehold, and immediately gets annoyed when his sparring partner admits he missed the whole thing because he was in the bathroom. Saitama, still competing as Chiranko, is up next against Bakuzan, and nobody is giving him a chance. Bakuzan himself is something else. He walks into the match and lays out exactly what he's going to do: break the legs, shatter the arms, split the skull. Step by step, methodical and cold. Then he touches Saitama's wig. One smack later, Bakuzan is flying out of the ring, the crowd stunned silent before erupting into cheers. On the Hero Association side, things are unraveling fast. A child, Waganma, son of a man who funds 7% of the association, has been kidnapped by monsters. Metalbat is found unconscious and in critical condition. The brass is scrambling, pulling every class A hero in the city to find the boy while simultaneously trying to contain the monster surge across multiple locations. Then the episode shifts to Blizzard. She's in serious trouble. A monster has mind-controlled her team and is using them against her. Despite being outnumbered and taking heavy damage, she's holding her own. Then the ground starts shaking. Tornado arrives, sensing her younger sister in pain, and dismantles everything in seconds. Blizzard's mind-controlled goons attack her, and she gently flings them into a building. The main monster slips away in the chaos. The episode closes on the Monster King Orochi receiving a report. Demon Cyborg, Metal Bat, Metal Knight all confirmed down. The Monster Association counts it as a major victory, and their strongest haven even moved yet. Episode 19. The Monster Association is feeling confident. Their leadership is already counting the Hero Association as crippled, and the scariest part is that their heaviest hitters haven't even been deployed yet. Orochi sits back and lets the chaos play out. Out in the field, things are a mess. Monsters are hitting multiple cities at once, and the Hero Association is scrambling to keep up. No intel, no coordination, just heroes getting thrown at problems and hoping something sticks. Drive Knight, Child Emperor, and Pig God are all out in the field taking down monsters. In another city, some A-class heroes are struggling against a giant octopus monster and barely scratching it. Flashy Flash shows up and starts carving into it from all angles, but even he can't put it down. He's about to unleash a secret move when the octopus suddenly lifts off the ground. Tatsumaki has arrived. She crushes the thing like it's nothing, then turns on everyone standing around, Flashy Flash included, and tears into them for being useless before flying off. Flashy Flash mutters something under his breath after she's gone, and the guy next to him tells him to keep it down before she hears him. Gyoro gets the report on what's happening but isn't worried. The Monster Association can make as many monsters as they want. Back at the tournament, the semifinals are wrapping up. Saitama, still competing under the name Chiranko, gets matched up against a guy named Bakuzan who will not stop talking. The man launches into a full speech about his superior genetics, his bloodline, his status as something beyond human. Saitama calls him something like GMO corn. Bakuzan does not take that well and promises to make the pain slow and deliberate. Meanwhile, a completely different kind of threat is unfolding in a private meeting. A swordsman named Haragiri shows up to a gathering of the Holy Order of the Sword, a group that includes Atomic Samurai and several of his top disciples, and pulls out monster cells. Atomic Samurai had called the meeting to get their help hunting down Guketsu, and everyone was on board until Haragiri revealed he'd taken the Monster Association's deal. He's already transformed, and now he's telling everyone else in the room to eat the cells too, or he'll kill them. Atomic Samurai doesn't wait. He cuts him down before it goes anywhere. The rest of the group doesn't flinch. The monster cells get destroyed, and the Order immediately shifts its focus. They have a new target now, and it's the Monster Association itself. The super fight final gets underway. Suryu versus Saitama, and Suryu comes out fast. He's attacking at full speed but keeps pulling up just short of contact, testing his opponent, watching. He reads pretty quickly that something is off about this guy. Saitama's eyes aren't nervous or aggressive, they're just kind of blank and curious. The two of them actually stop mid-match and start chatting. Suryu asks what brought him to the tournament. Saitama says prize money and looking for a good fight. Suryu says he came for the same reasons and offers to make the match entertaining for both of them. Then it actually gets going. Suryu steps it up, and Saitama takes some hits but keeps standing. Though he's mostly busy holding onto his wig, so the speed of the attacks doesn't blow it off. Suryu notices he's only been using leg techniques and hasn't gone all out. He pushes harder. Saitama tanks it. Suryu eventually asks what Saitama actually does, and when Saitama says he's a hero, Suryu lays out his whole philosophy. Strong people should just live free and easy. Heroes are basically useless. All that justice stuff is just noise. Saitama doesn't say much in response, but he's clearly not happy about it. Suryu launches a kick, and Saitama doesn't bother to dodge or block. The kick does nothing, but it does send the wig flying. Saitama tells him he's full of it, and that other people have dreams and things they want to do. He throws a fake punch that's enough to shred Suryu's shirt off him. The referee and judges huddle up and come back with a ruling. After a previous incident at the last tournament, head coverings are banned. The wig counts. Saitama is disqualified. Suryu wins by default, and the whole arena erupts in confusion. Someone in the crowd recognizes Saitama and calls him out as an imposter. Suryu isn't done though. He goes after Saitama anyway, furious, throwing everything he has. Saitama doesn't really fight back. When it's finally over, Soryu is left standing there asking what martial arts even are. Saitama's answer is that they're moves that make you look awesome. Soryu can't believe that's what he took from all of it. Saitama bolts. Security tries to cut him off at every exit. He slips out anyway. Episode 20. Right after the tournament wraps up, Soryu gets congratulated on his win, but the celebration barely has time to breathe. An announcement cuts through the arena. Monsters have appeared outside. Most people figure they're safe inside and try not to think too hard about it. Soryu decides he'll just avoid Saitama going forward and moves on. Then the monsters come inside. A massive fighter named Goketsu walks into the arena, and the crowd recognizes him immediately. He was the champion of the Super Fight tournament years back, supposedly killed by a monster. Goketsu explains that he wasn't killed. He was taken to the Monster Association's lair, turned into a monster himself, and given everything he ever wanted in exchange for his cooperation. He tells the remaining fighters that becoming a monster let him break through every limit he could never crack as a human. Then he pulls out monster cells and gives everyone a simple choice: eat them and become monsters, or die. Some fighters refuse, some hesitate. Some eat the cells on the spot, and the transformation hits fast. Raw power flooding through their bodies, their personalities warping almost immediately. One of the newly transformed fighters goes straight after someone who mocked him during an earlier match. A few of the transformations don't take, the bodies just can't handle it. Soryu isn't going anywhere. He steps up, tells a woman nearby that if he chases the monsters off, she should go out with him. She agrees, and he gets to work. He's fast and hits hard, and he tears through the lesser monsters without much trouble. But one of the transformed fighters proves to be no pushover, and the two of them go back and forth before Soryu finally puts him down. He even lands clean shots and draws blood from Goketsu, which surprises even him. But Goketsu isn't impressed for long. He tells Soryu he's strong enough to be worth keeping alive and offers him a place in the Monster Association, a world ruled by monsters, where the strong do whatever they want. Soryu actually engages with the logic for a second, acknowledging that the pitch kind of lines up with how he thinks about life. Then he turns it down flat, says he'd rather die than end up looking like that, and keeps fighting. It's not enough. Goketsu overwhelms him. Soryu realizes he can't win and tries to run, but Goketsu's crow monsters cut him off. Cornered, he spots Bakuzan standing there and calls out to him for help. Bakuzan's response is to announce he's going to become a monster himself, that being the strongest human is pointless now, and that his new goal is to be the strongest creature alive. He eats the cells, but the monsterification fails. His body can't take it, he collapses. That leaves Soryu completely alone, surrounded by the crow monsters, until Lightning, Max, and Snake show up. The three of them clear out the crows together, and the two heroes tell Soryu to run while they hold Goketsu off themselves. Soryu thinks they're insane for even trying, but he bolts. Meanwhile, the Monster Association is running through its objectives in a separate briefing. 3 goals: spread terror and chaos across human cities, secure a hostage from the Hero Association, and turn notable humans into monsters. All 3 are on track. Goketsu's work at the arena is feeding directly into the 3rd objective. The lair is located in the ruins outside City Z. A message goes out to Goketsu to wrap it up and return. Class S heroes are mobilizing, and even Goketsu might not be able to handle them alone. Back at the arena, Soryu doesn't get far before he runs straight into Bakuzan, who somehow survived and transformed after all. Bakuzan goes on about how he only ever wanted strength so he could beat on people weaker than him, and now he's finally past his limit. Goketsu leaves, then Bakuzan turns back to Soryu and takes his time with him, making it slow and deliberate. Just like he promised in the semifinals, Soryu has nothing left. He calls out for anyone, monster, hero, anyone to help him, even shouting the names of the same heroes he was mocking earlier. But the only heroes nearby are already down. Bakuzan raises his foot to finish him, then someone lands in front of him. Just a hero, the guy says. He heard Soryu calling for help. Soryu fought hard enough on his own. Now let him handle the rest. Soryu, barely conscious, just manages to say thank you. Episode 21. Tama is already standing in front of Soryu when the episode picks up, having just dropped Bakuzan without breaking a sweat. Bakuzan recognizes him, and so does Soryu, but Saitama doesn't remember Bakuzan at all. Bakuzan had been running his mouth about raining down death blows, calling out his monster allies the whole performance. Saitama works through all of them. When it's over, he doesn't really remember any of them. He just shrugs it off and asks how Suryu's doing. Soryu is equal parts grateful and baffled. He figures out that Karanka was an alias, connects the dots, and asks what Saitama was actually doing in the tournament. Saitama tells him straight. He wanted to experience martial arts. He was after the prize money. There was some hero hunter guy going around who was supposedly a martial arts master, and it got him curious, and honestly, he was just bored. Suiryu cannot believe what he's hearing. Still, he thanks him, and Saitama apologizes for not getting there sooner. Then Suiryu grabs him and tells him not to go outside. He lays out what he knows about the Monster Association. They're organized, they're dangerous, and they have the ability to turn humans into monsters. He warns Saitama specifically about Goketsu, says he threw everything he had at the guy and it did nothing. Saitama asks which direction Goketsu went. Suiryu points to the hole in the wall. Saitama heads straight for it. Suiryu physically grabs him and won't let go, telling him he'll be killed for sure. Saitama says no problem and goes anyway. He comes back a moment later and casually mentions that Goketsu only took one punch, so it's hard to compare. Suiryu is floored. After that, the two of them actually talk. Suiryu says he thinks he finally understands what it means to be a real hero. He asks Saitama whether he thinks someone who's scared could still become one. Saitama says he doesn't know, but if he became a hero, then probably anybody can. He was scared too before he got too strong. Suiryu takes that in, then asks if he can be Saitama's disciple. Absolute no. Now it flips to Puri prisoner, who's in the middle of his own fight against a spike-covered monster. His regular attacks aren't landing clean, and he's working through the problem out loud. He lands on the idea of accepting the pain with love, launches his angel hug, and breaks through. Afterward, he gets a call. The monsters that broke into his home and took his prisoners have already left, about 30 minutes ago all at once. He's furious with himself for missing the bigger disaster while he was out here. Saitama ends up running into King outside, and King notices he looks down. Saitama opens up about it since getting this strong, he doesn't feel anything from fighting. No growth, nothing to learn, just boredom. He never thought being a hero could feel this lonely. King listens, then actually says something that lands. He tells Saitama that being strong doesn't mean reaching a destination, and that the path to becoming the ultimate hero doesn't end at some clean finish line. There's still an ideal to pursue, and until Saitama figures out what it actually means to be the greatest hero, saying he's already hit his limit sounds shallow. Saitama admits that's deep. Then King mentions he read it in a manga. Either way, it gets Saitama thinking. King then tries to get him to come over and play games. Saitama refuses. King offers to play with one finger from each hand. Saitama immediately takes the bait. Meanwhile, Sonic gets approached by two members of the Monster Association, Tempest Wind and Hellfire Flame, both from his old village. They pitch him on joining, offer him a monster cell, tell him it's better than any drug or implant. Sonic turns them down cold. Then alone, he stares at the cell and thinks about Saitama. He sees no path to beating him through training alone. He decides to become a monster. Back at Hero Association headquarters, leadership is processing a new report from Drive Night about the Monster Association, their approximate location, their King Orochi, the kidnapping of a donor's son. A message has just arrived from the Monster Association. Before anyone can read it, the messenger keeps glitching out, repeating the same line over and over. Episode 22. Things kick off with some low-stakes gaming. Saitama and King playing a video game, with Saitama getting absolutely nowhere. In between rounds, Saitama notices a new prototype device the Hero Association gave King, an instant update tool that alerts him the moment something goes down. They're about to go another round when it starts going off, and the whole tone of the episode shifts hard. Back at Hero Association headquarters, a messenger delivers word that the Monster Association has made contact, except the messenger himself starts glitching out, repeating the same line over and over, like something's taken control of him. Security scrambles, but leadership holds them off long enough to hear the actual message. A figure identifying herself as Director Gyoro of the Monster Association lays out their demand. They want to be left alone. No territory in the outside world, no conflict with humans or heroes, just a safe place to exist. She frames the recent rampage as a demonstration of strength meant to back up the proposal, not an act of aggression. The executives, rattled but calculating, agree to the ceasefire on the spot, and then immediately make clear to each other that the moment the hostage boy is safe, the Monster Association gets wiped out. Gyoro was already ahead of them. The whole negotiation was bait. Through the messenger, she shoots one of the board members on the spot, mocks them openly for believing a word of it, and the real message drops. They have 3 days to send their best heroes to retrieve the boy. The Monster Association is waiting. Super Alloy Blackluster steps in to deal with the messenger and tells the rattled board he'll take it from there. Inside the Monster Association's ranks, the mood is confident but not without friction. One of their own, Roach Awakening, tries to rejoin after a previous failure, missing his legs and all. Orochi eats him on the spot as a display of power. Another member, Super S, barely survives the same scrutiny. Gyoro keeps things moving, telling anyone with objections to bring them up with Orochi after the battle, if they can beat him. Then she notices Goketsu hasn't returned. She checks and finds him dead, headless. She quietly notes that things won't go as smoothly as planned. Meanwhile, Genos is getting patched up and upgraded by Dr. Kuseno. The doctor tells him not to push too hard, reminds him it's okay to lose as long as he stays alive, and shares a little about his own past, a time when he threw himself into things headfirst without fear. Genos thanks him and heads back out. The news about the Monster Association has already hit the public. Citizens are scared, the press is running wild, and the heroes are under pressure. Inside HQ, Metal Knight argues coldly that the rescue mission is a trap, and the smart play is to bomb the location the moment they find it, hostage or not. The council rejected that plan. He wants no part of what he calls a suicide mission and walks. Garo, meanwhile, is running on fumes. He's feverish, his body's at its limit, and he ends up crashing in a shack that turns out to be a group of kids' secret base. One of them, the same kid with the hero almanac from before, gets sent in to wake him up and kick him out. Garo isn't moving. He tells the kid to tell his friends to deal with it, and if they have a problem, bring them to him directly. Then, almost as an afterthought, he gives the kid a piece of advice. If you don't want to be pushed around, get strong. The kid points out, that's obvious. Garo says exactly. So obvious the kid understood it perfectly. Then Death Gatling shows up outside with a full crew, 8 heroes total. Episode 23. Garo walks out. He looks around, clocks that there's no Class S hero in the group, and calls the whole squad a joke. Death Gatling fires back, explaining that Class S heroes get all the glory, the pay, the classified intel, while everyone else bleeds just as hard and gets none of the recognition. That's exactly why Garo is the perfect target. Taking down the hero hunter would prove that Class A heroes deserve their place at the table. Garo absorbs that, then points out the obvious. They just want all the credit for themselves. Any kid watching would be crushed. He's already in rough shape. The poison is hitting hard, breathing is difficult, and the dizziness is creeping in. He even brings up the Monster Association situation, asks whether a guy like him should really be their priority right now with a hostage out there. Death Gatling doesn't budge. They'll deal with all of that after they bring him in. Garo decides these heroes are just another step on the path. He's not backing down. What follows is a brutal grinding fight. Garo is poisoned, leg injured, running on fumes, but he keeps reading the room and adapting. He memorizes their attack patterns and starts turning the heroes' own attacks against each other, picking them off one by one. He uses one hero as a human shield when the ranged fighters try to coordinate, forces their formation apart, and keeps the group from ever getting clean angles on him. One of the newer heroes, clearly out of his depth, starts to realize he's just getting in the way, and the rest of the group quietly agrees. The kid has a moment of crisis, thinking he's hit his absolute limit and that he'll never be a real hero. Something snaps him back into focus and he pushes forward anyway. The fight escalates. Death Gatling eventually decides taking Garo alive is off the table and goads him into burning through all his ammo on a single massive attack. Death Shower. It's described as something that turns monsters into mincemeat. Garo deflects every bullet, making sure the kid in the shack behind him doesn't get a single scratch. He's still standing. Garo turns it back on Death Gatling, telling him he just proved something, that guns and bullets can't put him down. He flips Death Gatling's opening line right back at him and points out that calling in even one Class S hero might have changed things. Death Gatling refuses to accept that framing, insisting Class A heroes fight through blood and death just like anyone else. But Garo drops him anyway. Then a new hero arrives, responding to a backup signal. It's Genos. He immediately clocks what's been tripping everyone else up. Garo is moving in a style built around flowing water and crushing rock, and Genos figures it out quickly. The fight is intense, and Garo is barely holding on, described as having a sliver of health left. Cornered and desperate, Garo even starts copying Watchdog Man's style mid-fight and manages to tear off one of Genos' arms, but the arm still works and pins him to a tree. Genos calls him a nobody and lines up a finishing shot, but Garo breaks the tree to escape. Then the Monster Association shows up. 2 of their members arrive specifically to retrieve Garo, saying their superiors are offering him an executive position. Garo tells them to get lost. They say they're under orders and aren't leaving without him. Genos doesn't even let them negotiate. He takes them out and turns his attention back to Garo. Now it flips to Saitama. He's been losing to King in video games, and during a break in the action, King mentions Genos hasn't been home in a while. Saitama decides to go check on his disciple. Cut back to Genos, still locked in with Garo. He reflects on what Saitama told him, to aim higher and train his spirit, and notes that compared to yesterday, he's stronger. He's not going down easy. Genos is about to finish Garo off when Bang arrives, kicking Garo away. Bang tells Genos to leave this to him, while Bomb handles the Monster Association lackeys. Bang and Garo face each other again. Bang remembering the day Garo first stumbled into his dojo as a kid, wondering what the hell happened to him. He waits for Garo to get up, and the episode ends with the two of them charging at each other. Episode 24. The episode picks up right in the middle of the fight. Bang and Bomb have Garo cornered, and the gap in skill is immediately obvious. Bang's form is flawless, same style as Garo, but on a completely different level. Garo is blacking out, barely holding on, and he knows it. He's taking stock of the situation and the math isn't adding up. Bang, Bomb, and Genos. He figures the only way out is to go through all three of them. Then his mind drifts somewhere else entirely. A childhood memory surfaces, a kid's game of heroes and monsters. Garo is always the monster. The popular kid, Tatsu, is always the hero. It's not even a question. Garo is friendless, perpetually cast as the villain, and the game is rigged from the start. The popular kid always wins. That's just how it goes. Eventually, something snaps and Garo refuses to play along anymore. He tells Tatsu he wants a real fight, one where if he wins, they leave him alone for good. It doesn't go well for him. He ends up in trouble, told to apologize, and no one believes his side of the story. What he's carrying isn't a love of evil. It's rage at a world that decided the outcome before anyone threw a punch. He's not fighting for evil, he's fighting for every underdog who never had a shot. Back in the present, Garo digs in. As Bang and Bomb close in for the kill, he dodges and smashes the ground, creating just enough of an opening for a Monster Association member, Phoenix Man, to swoop in and grab him. Genos fires on Phoenix Man and nearly cooks him, but then a massive creature, Sentichuro, bursts out to shield him, sent by the Monster Association. Phoenix Man takes off with Garo, leaving the others to deal with this thing. Genos tells the others to run and positions himself to hold the creature off alone. Bang shuts that down immediately, tells him not to make rash decisions just because the fight looks unwinnable. Genos doesn't accept that framing either. He charges anyway. Sentichuro bites off his leg and tears him in half, but Genos rejoins his body, breaks the creature's teeth, and forces his way into its mouth, pushing everything he has into one final attack. Ultra-viral incineration cannon, fired from the inside. It's brutal, but Sentichuro is still alive and Genos is wrecked. He couldn't win, couldn't save them. That thought sits heavy on him. Bang grabs him and tries to pull back, but realizing the city is in danger, he stops, strips down, and prepares to hold the creature off himself. Then King's voice cuts through. He's taunting Sentichuro through a megaphone name-dropping blast, calling the creature a coward, goading it away from the city and toward open ground. It works. The monster turns and barrels straight for King, who just stands there until Saitama steps in front of him at the last second. Saitama punches the creature in the face and seems genuinely refreshed by it, casually mentioning he'd been stressed from losing games. One punch and Sentichuro is gone. The heroes watching aren't even shocked anymore. This is just what Saitama does. Genos pulls himself together and asks Saitama directly, what is it that he's lacking? Saitama says power, completely straight-faced. Genos takes it as gospel. Everyone around them is losing their minds at that answer, but Genos locks it in like scripture. He tells Saitama he'll get there someday, and means every word of it. The episode closes on Garo, unconscious. A voice tells him to rest because soon he'll be meeting Lord Orochi. Episode 25. The episode opens at a Hero Association strategy meeting. Word has gotten around that Elder Centipede is gone, wiped out by what everyone assumes was King's doing, and the brass is treating it like a miracle. But the mood shifts fast when the topic turns to Guru. The executives decide he can no longer be treated as human. Next time he surfaces, he gets classified as threat level dragon, and an emergency alert goes out. One of the suits at the table quietly notes that Silverfang at least left Guru badly wounded, so there's probably no chance he links up with the Monster Association. They're calling that a win. Then a father stands up and demands action. His son Waganma has been held hostage for 24 hours, and he wants to know why no one has moved yet. A man named Sekingar steps forward and introduces himself as the one commanding the rescue operation. Child Emperor is already running surveillance robots through the underground, trying to pin down the hideout location somewhere in City Z. 2 days left on the Monster Association's ultimatum. Child Emperor immediately declares he's not sleeping. The discussion turns to who's available. Drive Knight apparently went rogue. slipped into the ghost town alone the night before, and nobody's heard from him since. The consensus is he's been taken out. Atomic Samurai shows up reeking of blood. He spent the whole previous day hunting monsters through mountains and caves and came up empty on the hideout. Amai Mask is also on the team, and he makes it immediately clear he has zero patience for anyone he considers below his level. He and Atomic Samurai get into it almost instantly, with Amai Mask suggesting that if any of the weaker members get captured and used as human shields, they should just be ordered to commit harakiri. Things stay tense. Meanwhile, a prison warden is releasing a hulking inmate under an extra-legal arrangement. A cat-type monster broke in, turned prisoners into monsters, and killed officers. The warden needs the guy's muscle and is willing to look the other way on his previous escapes. The inmate takes it in stride, promises to make them pay, and heads out wearing a knitted sweater one of the prisoners made for him. Child Emperor, working alone in a room, tries to reach Metal Knight directly. Metal Knight finally responds, and the news is grim. He went up against Monster King Orochi and one strike destroyed his arm and disabled his self-destruct device. He's not afraid of the Monster Association. He's afraid of something bigger, some unseen power waiting for humanity to weaken before making its move. He tells Child Emperor not to trust anyone, to build strength quietly and save it for the right moment. Then he cuts off. Back at Saitama's apartment, things are considerably more chaotic. Bang is laid out with a thrown-out back. King has apparently been there. Blizzard shows up in a panic because the Blizzard bunch has been decimated. She tries to call an emergency strategy meeting on the spot, and nobody is taking it seriously. Saitama is playing a video game. Genos explains his transmitter melted in battle. Bang dropped his down a crack. Saitama's punch apparently destroyed everyone else's too. Blizzard lays out the situation. The Monster Association is a coordinated threat with a boss structure, and if Garou has joined them, the window to fight him alone is closing fast. Saitama hears that Garou was at the scene the night before and he just missed him. He stands up, says he's going out to find Garou, mentions he'll grab Napa Cabbage on the way back and walks out the door. Blizzard is left staring at the ceiling. Deep underground in the Monster Association's hideout, Garou wakes up battered and disoriented. He makes his way out of his cell and finds himself looking down on an arena where Narinki's private force, a team of armored soldiers sent in to rescue Waganma, has already been wiped out by a robot called Machine God G5. Gioro Giro welcomes G5 into the Monster Association, and the whip-wielding monster princess uses her power to put the surviving Narinki force under her control. Then Gioro Giro reaches Garou through telepathy and pitches him a leadership role. The association needs a figurehead with serious anti-hero conviction. The catch: Lord Orochi wants proof Garou is a true monster. He has one day to bring back a hero's head. Garou heads outside and two monsters are quietly sent to tail him. Sonic, meanwhile, has been suffering through the night after taking monster cells. He's lost 2 kilograms, his stomach is wrecked, and he's furious at the Monster Association for not warning him about the side effects. He never planned to work with them anyway. His only target is Saitama, but he can feel his body changing, and he knows something is different now. Episode 26. The episode opens on a street rally that's already gone completely off the rails. Some fringe group calling themselves the Monster Worship Party is out in public with signs, megaphones, and a whole pitch. Surrender to the monsters, offer up regular human sacrifices, control the rate of consumption, survive as a species. One guy in the crowd tells them to go to hell and says he'd rather die than side with monsters. The party leader immediately volunteers him as the first sacrifice. Watching all of this from a distance, Garou is more annoyed than impressed. He's disappointed at how easily society is cracking under pressure and quietly worries that by the time he makes his grand entrance as the ultimate monster, it won't even land right. The bar has been lowered too much. The city's unraveling in other ways too. News reports cover robberies, street violence, cults marching around declaring the end of human history. Regular criminals are using the monster crisis as cover, reasoning that if everyone's going to die anyway, why hold back? Garou runs into a couple of drunk thugs blocking a restaurant entrance, shuts them down with a look and a few words, then heads inside absolutely starving. He orders the entire meat menu top to bottom, every salad available and a massive amount of water. He eats an enormous amount, slams the table, and declares himself stuffed. Saitama reaches for his wallet and it's gone. He thinks he must have dropped it at the supermarket when he bought Napa Cabbage. The restaurant has just finished an announcement about their strict anti-dine and dash security and the former pro-hero stationed on site, which makes the situation significantly worse. Saitama is in exactly the same predicament. Blizzard shows up and finds him there. She's been looking for him since he walked out mid-conversation back at the apartment. She sits down, orders fries, and immediately launches into a business proposal. She'll help him track down Garou, provide intel on the target, handle the strategy, and take 70% of the points as a success fee. Saitama is barely listening, zoned out while she talks. She takes his dazed expression as enthusiasm and starts imagining he might finally join the Blizzard bunch. Then, Garou bolts from the restaurant without paying, and Saitama immediately gives chase. He calls back that Blizzard ate a fry, so the bill is on her. She's left holding the check for one fry and an enormous meal. Meanwhile, Garou is wandering and comes across Terrio getting bullied again. He tells the kids to knock it off, and Terrio, who saw Garou get shot at by heroes earlier, tries to tell him he believes in him, that Garou is secretly a champion of justice. Garou shuts that down fast, says it's giving him goosebumps, and tells him to go home before dark. Then Saitama catches up, having chased Garou here. Garou, taking him for another hero, asks his name. Saitama says Cape Baldy, quietly enough that Garou doesn't quite catch it. Garou figures he's a nobody, not even listed in the hero almanac, and moves in. Saitama knocks him out with one punch, immediately says he screwed up, and walks off. Garou wakes up confused with no memory of who hit him. Terrio tries to fill him in, and Garou is left sitting with the fact that he just lost to some random guy. That's when the two monsters Gioro sent to tail him make contact, Royal Ripper and Insect God. They're there to test Garou, and the test is simple: kill Terrio. A monster severs all ties to humanity. Garou protected the kid twice already, which disqualifies him in their eyes. Garou refuses. Royal Ripper goes after Terrio himself, but Garou intercepts and saves the kid, telling him to run. Terrio's legs lock up from fear, and Garou screams at him to stand up and move. Terrio finally bolts, leaving Garou in a 2-on-1 against Royal Ripper and Insect God. Back at the Monster Association's inner circle, Gioro reveals to Phoenix Man that Orohai was once human, and that Gioro created him after countless trials. The implication is that Garou could become a second Orohai. The whole situation with Royal Ripper is a deliberate trial. If Garou dies, they move on to the next candidate. Elsewhere, Zombieman has tracked down what he believes is the true mastermind behind the Monster Association, the House of Evolution. He finds their latest base, which is operating as a takoyaki stand. The man inside tells him the House of Evolution was already destroyed, then calmly invites him in. Episode 27. The episode kicks off with Zombieman sitting across from Dr. Genis, and the old scientist is already several steps ahead of him. Genis recognizes Zombieman immediately, sample number 66, his only successful immortality experiment. He recaps the history calmly. Zombieman destroyed the lab over 10 years ago and vanished, and now here he is wearing a hero badge. Zombieman cuts straight to it and demands to know why the House of Evolution disappeared. Genis doesn't dodge it. He talks about limiters. Every organism, he explains, is built with a ceiling on its growth, a hard cap designed by nature to keep creatures functional and sane. Push past it and you either break down, lose your mind, or turn into something monstrous. But one person blew straight through that ceiling without any of that. He walked into Genis's lab, defeated the strongest specimen there with a single punch, and walked out. In exchange for that limitless power, the man went bald. He also carries the loneliness that comes with being that far above everyone else. Zombieman calls the whole theory ridiculous. Genis just smiles. He says Zombieman might meet this person someday, and that apparently he's a hero now. Then Zombieman, completely deadpan, asks why Genis is running a takoyaki stand. Genis explains he discovered a way to endlessly regenerate octopus legs while researching human regeneration. That's enough of an answer, apparently. Meanwhile, Garou is in the middle of a 2-on-1 fight against Royal Ripper and Insect God, and he's holding his own. He tells them he's figured out all their moves and they won't land another hit. He's locked in, reading everything. Then a third monster shows up, Hedro Jellyfish, who has a personal grudge, and the situation shifts fast. In the chaos, Hedro Jellyfish grabs Terrio, and Garou gets distracted long enough for Royal Ripper to slice him up. Insect God protests that the orders were not to kill the kid, but Royal Ripper shrugs it off and says it's too late. Garou is down, Terrio is taken, and the monsters head back to the Monster Association's hideout. Back at Saitama's apartment, Genos, Bang, and the others are waiting. Saitama walks through the door like nothing happened, covered in blood from a random monster he ran into on the way home. Everyone braces for some big revelation about Garou. Instead, Saitama's big disaster turns out to be losing his wallet. 6,000 yen gone, and more urgently, he left his Napa cabbage at the family restaurant. Then Blizzard shows up at the door. She tracked down the Napa cabbage and returns it, but she's furious about being stuck with the restaurant bill. Saitama apologizes, barely. She reminds him he walked out mid-conversation again. He admits he wasn't listening. She tells him he owes her one and leaves, still fuming. Genos quietly wonders why she keeps coming around and resolves to prevent her from becoming another disciple. Then Genos' sensors pick up something approaching fast. He runs the math. Bang and his brother are injured. Blizzard can't handle demon level or above, and Saitama has apparently suffered serious psychological damage from the wallet situation. Genos shoves King out the front door to intercept. King opens the door and invites the visitor inside. It's Dr. Kuzuno, Genos' creator, who picked up a distress signal and came to check in personally. He's relieved to find Genos alive and introduces himself to Saitama. Saitama's first move is to ask him to take his shoes off. Kuzuno brought a premium deluxe beef gift set as a thank you for looking after Genos, and Saitama immediately warms up and tells him to drop by anytime. Saitama tosses the fancy beef straight into the hot pot. Blizzard, still lingering, gets firmly pushed toward the door along with King and the old guys. Inside the Monster Association, Royal Ripper and Insect God report back to Joro. Their story is that Garou failed the test and they killed him in the heat of the moment. Joro doesn't seem too bothered. The bigger news is that a Hero Association surveillance robot was spotted near the hideout. They have less than a day before the location is pinpointed and Class S heroes arrive. Everyone is told to prepare for battle. Tereo gets thrown into a cell with Waganma, the Hero Association executive's son. Waganma is arrogant and convinced the heroes will come rescue him immediately. Tereo quietly tries to tell him that several top heroes, Lightning Genji, Heavy Kong, Metal Bat, Metal Knight, were already defeated. Waganma brushes it off, insisting King alone is enough to terrify the monsters. A monster steps in and tells them plainly that the Monster Association was built specifically to wipe out every last hero and that they have dragon-level threats ready to go. Every hero will die, even King. Episode 28. Garou wakes up disoriented somewhere underground with no memory of how long he's been out. His wounds have already stopped bleeding, but his clothes are fused to the injuries. He pieces it together slowly. He lost to monsters, he's still alive somehow, and the kid, Tereo, is gone. He doesn't let himself dwell on it too long. He pulls himself together and starts moving. Over at Hero Association headquarters, Child Emperor announces that Dig Here, Doggy Number 3's signal has gone dark, meaning the scout found something, and the Monster Association's hideout is close to being pinpointed. The operation is almost ready to launch, but the meeting takes a sharp turn when a man named Sekengal raises concerns about Genos. He points out that Genos is a newcomer with unknown origins, lives in the same ghost town as the Monster Association's hideout, and hasn't built enough trust to be considered reliable. The argument lands. Genos gets cut from the operation entirely. Then Silverfang gets the same treatment. The reasoning being that he let Garou slip away due to personal attachment, and with Garou now confirmed as a Monster Association ally, that's too much of a liability. Sekengal frames the whole thing as risk management. Sitch pushes back hard, warning that treating lower-ranked heroes as expendable cannon fodder is going to get people killed. Sekengal doesn't flinch. He says sacrifices are inevitable, that every pro-hero accepted that risk when they signed up, and that the Monster Association itself is the Earth Doom prophecy made real. If they don't move now, humanity loses. Child Emperor sets the operation for noon and tells everyone to stay in their lane. Meanwhile, back at Saitama's apartment, the hot pot situation has completely devolved. Blizzard is swiping meat, Genos is furious about it, Bang is trying to have a deep philosophical conversation about how he raised his disciples, Bomb is hoarding Napa cabbage, and King is somehow already asleep on the floor. Kuseno, who brought the premium beef, ends up being voluntarily recruited by Blizzard to develop weapons for the Blizzard Bunch, which nearly gets her incinerated by Genos. Saitama mostly just wants people to stop taking his food and go home. Eventually, he kicks everyone out after dinner except King, who passed out mid-fight over meat and doesn't wake up until morning. King stumbles out into the ghost town the next morning to take out Saitama's trash. It's quiet, weirdly peaceful. He muses that maybe Saitama's presence has driven the monsters away, like a cat keeping rats out of a house. Then immediately second-guesses himself, wondering if the rats are just hiding underground instead. He shakes off the thought. On the way back, Hero Association staff are waiting outside and immediately swarm him. They assume the stains on his clothes are from a night of brutal monster combat. King doesn't correct them. Back at headquarters, Narinki, the executive whose son Waganma is being held captive, is falling apart. He hasn't slept. His private elite unit has gone completely silent overnight, and he's spiraling. He offers the Hero Association everything he owns if they bring his son back alive. Flashy. Flash cuts through the moment bluntly, saying only strength matters on a battlefield and to leave it to him. The other assembled Class S heroes chime in with their own brand of confidence. Child Emperor lays out the plan. multiple entry points into the underground hideout, split teams, short decisive battle, backup heroes stationed above ground to catch anything that escapes. Each hero is also issued a transmitter, so their locations can be tracked throughout the operation. Tornado immediately objects to Blizzard being included in the backup team. She shuts it down completely, and Child Emperor backs off and agrees to pull Blizzard out. Deep inside the Monster Association, King the Ripper has Tereo cornered. He doesn't care about the war, doesn't care about a monster-ruled world, he just wants to kill, and right now he's fixated on Tereo. He tells the kid exactly what he is and what he's about to do. Tereo screams for help, and then Guru bursts through the wall. He snaps King the Ripper's blade off and takes his head clean off in the same motion. Tereo had cried out for a hero. What came for him was a monster. Episode 29. Guru and Tereo are already moving. Guru clocks the bandages on his own body and keeps it pushing. Standing still means getting swarmed, and he knows it. He tells Tereo flat out that he didn't come here to rescue anyone, just to get out. Tereo barely has time to process that before he brings up the other hostage, a kid around his age still stuck somewhere in the hideout. Guru doesn't care, he says so directly. Tereo pushes back, and Guru doesn't budge. He makes it clear the kid is dead weight, and this isn't a charity run. Then something massive stops them cold. Guru clocks the threat immediately. His skin's tingling, heart hammering. Whatever this thing is, it's strong, and he has zero interest in fighting it here. He keeps his voice low and walks Tereo through it, one careful step at a time. Don't turn around. Don't provoke it, just move. Slow and steady. It works. The thing doesn't follow. They clear the distance and Guru almost exhales. Then a group of Monster Association members steps up, recognizing him as the hero hunter and deciding this is their shot at some easy points. One of them douses him with toxic chemicals. It doesn't go the way they planned. Guru tears through them, and Tereo watches with wide eyes as Guru just keeps getting sharper mid-fight. The monsters are threat-level demon and throwing that around like it means something. Guru shrugs it off and says that makes him threat-level dragon, which does not land well with him. In the chaos, one of the monsters gets sent flying straight into Pochi. Then Pochi comes back, pissed. Turns out the giant dog monster is one of the Monster Association's high rankers, threat-level dragon, for real this time. Guru gets Tereo clear and tells him to run. The fight kicks into a completely different gear. Guru takes concentrated heat blasts and somehow stays on his feet through sheer regeneration. The battle tears through the underground levels, and at some point Guru gets blasted deep into the lower floors. He's alive, barely mobile, and trying to figure out how to get back up. That's when Joro finds him. The Monster Association's top strategist has been watching this whole time. Goro pulls him out of the rubble and then locks him in place by telekinesis. Powerful enough, Goro claims, to surpass even the Tornado and Blizzard sisters. Guru can't move. Goro takes the opportunity to lay everything out. Guru is already half monster. The fact that he survived Pochi's heat blasts is proof, and Goro wants to push that further, not through martial arts or psychic training, but through something called monsterization. The process is brutal, subject the body and mind to overwhelming strain, force them to overcome death again and again, and the result is explosive growth. Most subjects die immediately. The ones that don't become something else entirely. Goro's first real success with this method was Monster King Orochi, but Guru apparently has even more potential than him. Guru tells Goro exactly where to go. He starts moving again, slowly at first, then faster, adapting to the telekinesis in real time. Goro is stunned. Guru figures out the limitation. Goro can only focus on one action at a time, so the paralysis breaks the moment something gets thrown. He calls it out loud, strips away the mystique, and goes on the offensive. He's hunting now. If he takes out the brains of the Monster Association, the rest falls apart on its own. Then Goro calls in Orochi. Guru goes at him anyway. Orochi is enormous, regenerates, withstands extreme heat, and can copy techniques after seeing them once. He mirrors Guru's own stance back at him mid-fight. Guru doesn't panic. He says the same attack won't work twice on a genius and keeps adapting. But Goro is already thinking past the fight, musing about brainwashing Guru over time, noting the internal conflict between his obsession with monsters and the humanity he hasn't shed. Guru, for all his power, still isn't fully gone. Meanwhile, above ground, a group of heroes quietly arrives at the entrance to the underground hideout. The operation is starting. Episode 30. The heroes are running their final briefing before the raid. Child Emperor lays out the intel. Satellite thermography puts the Monster Association's headcount at around 500, which breaks down to over 60 monsters per hero. The real concern is the top-level threats. After the Centauro incident, the assumption is there are multiple demon and dragon tier enemies waiting underground. The heroes swap notes on what they faced in the previous skirmishes. Most of the monsters were manageable, but a few were genuinely dangerous. Drive Knight is brought up. He went to investigate City Z alone and hasn't been heard from since. Nobody's calling him dead yet, but the implication hangs in the air. The takeaway is clear. Anyone could end up in that same situation, so nobody lets their guard down. The rules of engagement get hammered out fast. No mercy, no negotiating. But one hero speaks up about the men who are forcibly monsterized. He wants a chance to save them if possible, specifically anyone still in prison uniforms. He mentions losing an old friend to monsterization and not being able to do anything about it. Another hero says she'll try a combination technique to snap them out of it. It's a small moment, but it lands. Then Tornado decides she's taking on the final boss personally and tells everyone else to handle the small fry. That goes over exactly as well as you'd expect. Child Emperor pushes back, reminds everyone this is a hostage rescue first and monster hunting second, and tells Tornado point blank not to blow up the entire hideout. The whole room starts unraveling. Arguments breaking out in every direction, heroes talking over each other, nobody listening. That's when Amai Mask walks in. He's furious about being left out of the planning meeting and even more furious when he finds out he's been slotted into the surface support team, specifically, making sure the underground assault doesn't get ambushed from behind. He wants in on the underground assault and he wants to lead the Class S heroes himself. He starts tearing into the Class S heroes, and it's clear they all hate him. Flash gives him a look that could cut glass. The room is seconds away from imploding when King shows up, late, covered in stains, smelling rough because he was brought straight from home without a chance to change. Before King can explain anything, one of the heroes reads the stains on his clothes as monster blood and announces that King spent the entire night fighting alone near the enemy hideout. The room goes quiet. Amai Mask, who was ready to throw hands 30 seconds ago, backs down on the spot. He's still joining the attack team, that's not negotiable, but the standoff is over. The teams split. Class S heroes go underground. Everyone else handles surface support, evacuation routes, and escorting the hostage once he's rescued. The lower-ranked heroes push for a ranking bump in exchange for risking their lives. Sitch agrees. The operation is moving. Meanwhile, Bang gets quietly pulled aside. Someone asks him directly why he let Garou escape and whether a monster really intervened. Bang says he didn't hold back. The distrust is obvious, but nothing comes of it for now. Separately, Bang runs into King in a back room and pieces together what's happening. He loops in Bomb, and the two of them quietly arrange to bring Saitama and Genos in through Bang's entry route, off the books against association orders. Garou is going to be there, and that settles it. Over at Saitama's apartment, Genos and Fubuki are already there when Bang and Bomb arrive. The problem is, Saitama isn't home. His hero suit is gone. Nobody knows where he went. King eventually shows up too, having slipped away from the main group, and the question hits the table. Do they wait for Saitama or go in without him? King says they wait. Genos volunteers to stay behind and join once Saitama returns. The rest of the group heads out. The heroes reach the entrance to the underground hideout. But before anyone makes a move, they clock what's waiting for them. Monsters pouring out from the front, more closing in from behind, completely surrounding them on all sides. A voice cuts through, almost amused, noting that this is apparently the Hero Association's full fighting force. The raid is about to begin. Episode 31. The heroes arrive at the entrance and immediately clock that King is missing from the rear. Word passes through the group. He slipped off early to take his position, told someone not to worry about the timing, and just dipped without saying a word to anyone. Child Emperor is visibly annoyed at being left out of the loop. The others shrug it off. That's just King. There's no time to dwell on it. The welcome party is already rolling out. Monsters flood in from the front, then from behind, then from every direction. Child Emperor's heat signatures tick up fast, 80, 110, 150, and still climbing. Before anyone can fully process the scale of it, a voice cuts through the chaos. It belongs to a monster who explains that Joro Gyoro implanted the eyes of fallen monsters into her body, harnessing their lingering grudges to amplify her psychic power. Now that the moment for vengeance has arrived, she says, they're all weeping. A massive psychic shockwave tears out in every direction. Tornado throws up a barrier and catches it. The lower-ranked heroes immediately start yelling at her to keep protecting them. She tells them flat out she has no reason to do that. If they can't handle themselves, they should leave. Bang backs her up. The message lands hard, but it lands right. These heroes knew what they were walking into. Tornado turns back to the psychic monster and dismantles her pretty quickly. She notes that feeding off low-level grudges has a ceiling, and this is clearly it. The The monster tries to get under her skin by threatening to gouge out her eyes, and Fubuki's infuse them together for an experiment. Tornado is not impressed. She wraps it up fast, and the monsters watching scramble back in fear. That opens the floodgates for the rest of the surface battle to kick off. The Class A and lower-ranked heroes spread out and start working through the waves. Twintails, Green, Crescent Moon, Thickbrows, Narcisstoic, Feather, Shadowring, they're all in the mix, holding their own. A Mai Mask is out there too, and Narcisstoic makes a point of announcing his beautiful technique directly at him. Rhino Wrestler, a demon-level monster who's been evolving mid-combat and getting stronger by the second. He's been kicked out of the Blizzard Bunch and is treating this fight as his shot at proving himself. He takes hits from multiple heroes and shrugs them off, even calling out their techniques and scoring them like a judge at a competition. Aeron manages to stop his charge and earns 69 points for it, but the monster is still standing and still hungry for more. Atomic Samurai steps in and ends it. One cut. Rhino Wrestler doesn't even register what happened. He asks what his score is. Nobody answers. Atomic Samurai then keeps going, carving through the surrounding monsters and clearly enjoying himself a little too much, until Flashy Flash jumps in and starts cutting them down too. Super Alloy Blackluster, Pig God, and Puri Puri Prisoner help clean up the rest. With the surface cleared, the signal goes out. All assault teams advance underground. Child Emperor reminds everyone the top priority is the hostage. No backup is coming. Whatever happens down there, they're on their own. Meanwhile, back inside the Monster Association, the grunts who retreated come crawling back to Gyoro. They lost badly. The heroes were stronger than expected. More than half the grunts are dead, and they want no part of going back out. Gyoro responds by compressing several of them into cubes on the spot. The rest get the message. He tells them to get back out there and gather intel on the Class S heroes, reminding them the odds still favor the Monster Association overall. The Class S heroes filter into the underground without incident. A couple of the lower-ranked heroes watching the entrance note that it felt almost too easy. The trap was elaborate, letting them in this smoothly doesn't sit right. The real fight is just getting started. Episode 32. Before the assault teams push deeper underground, Child Emperor runs through the ground rules one more time. Read the transmitter manual. Use the map he made. Communicate only in emergencies, and don't expect to be rescued. The underground is massive, and getting lost in enemy territory is a death sentence. He keeps it blunt and moves on. Meanwhile, Flashy Flash is already deep in it. A pair of monsters intercept him in a narrow corridor, telling him they knew exactly which route he'd take. They taunt him about his speed, saying tight spaces will neuter it. Flash isn't interested in the trash talk. He notes that bragging about speed is something a side character does, mentions offhand that he's been told he finishes things quickly and then just handles them. Except these two aren't done. They're ninjas, and not random ones. They're Tempest Wind and Hellfire Flame, demon-level threats, and the top two fighters from the Golden 37, the strongest generation their village ever produced. They've been waiting specifically for Flash, the former #1 of the 44th generation, and they make that very clear. They drag him into an open space they seized from the monsters, more room to work with. Before the real fighting starts, Flash runs through a list of names, everyone who apparently hired assassins to come after him. Skillfish, Drug Shogun Harad, Heart Collector Baligala, Freak Phantom Thief Chimagusa, Indomitable Bandit Captain Gemastorm, the entire Assassination Alliance High Command. All dead. Flash killed every single one of them, and never told anyone. Tempest Wind and Hellfire Flame are briefly thrown off. Those were the people they planned to kill after finishing Flash. He saved them the trouble. They thank him. Then they try to kill him anyway. The fight escalates hard. Flash figures out early that the two of them only recently became monsters and haven't fully adjusted to their new top speeds yet. That's why they wanted the open space to find their footing. He uses that knowledge, stays composed, and systematically takes apart their techniques. He explains it plainly. The more skilled a fighter is, the less they deviate from fundamentals, and if you know the fundamentals, speed alone doesn't save you. They escalate to full monster power, dragon level, and abandon their ninja pride entirely, deciding to just overwhelm him with raw speed and brutality. Flash waits for exactly the right moment, then drops Flashy Slash and takes them both down at once. He explains afterward that he held it back deliberately. If even one of them had escaped, they'd have been a problem for the other Class S heroes, none of whom could have kept up with that speed. The two of them fading out, ask what they were missing. Flash gives them a one-word answer. Not enough training back at the command post. Child Emperor is tracking transmitter signals. Flash's blip was moving fast, then stopped. He figures Flash can handle it and shifts his focus to what actually has him worried. The hostage. He's been sitting on some intel and finally acts on it, deploying Mini Octo Tank No 8 to scout ahead. The robot finds Knight's unit in rough shape, apparently destroyed by Monster King Orochi. Child Emperor doesn't linger on that and extracts data from the wreckage instead. He notices someone already tried to reassemble it. Some parts are completely undamaged and neatly disassembled, which means the monsters might have an expert working with human technology. That's a problem for later. What matters right now is that the radar inside already had the correct route to the hostage mapped out. Knight knew the whole time and never said anything. Child Emperor is annoyed, takes a breath, eats some candy to reset, and moves. He finds the hostage, Waganma, guarded by monsters. A quick poison gas deployment clears the room, though one monster, Hadro Jellyfish, tiger level, turns out to be immune and impossible to cut or stab. Child Emperor douses it in fuel oil and gets Waganma out. The kid is hungry, mildly ungrateful, and immediately wants to take home every piece of equipment Child Emperor uses. A mechanical neutralizer, a remote control tank, a three-headed robot that assembles mid-fight. Waganma is treating the whole thing like a show. Child Emperor isn't watching the show. He's already burning through supplies faster than he'd like. And Phoenix Man, a demon-level monster with ambitions on Orochi's throne, is still out there. He gets Waganma moving and keeps his eyes forward. Episode 33. Child Emperor and Waganma are still moving through the underground, and Waganma is already complaining. He wants to know why Child Emperor didn't stay back and finish that monster with his robot. Child Emperor keeps it simple. Getting Waganma to the surface is the mission, and winning fights isn't the point right now. Waganma pushes back, citing his dad's whole thing about heroes taking down monsters, but Child Emperor doesn't budge. Then Waganma spots the corpse of a monster in an animal costume and recognizes it as Donkin Bird, the mascot from some old canceled comedy show. He explains the character was thick-headed and stupid, always dying, always coming back in the next episode, like nothing happened. Child Emperor files that away. He starts thinking out loud about how unpredictable monster behavior really is. Nobody knows what triggers the transformation or where it comes from. What if the man who became a monster by wearing that costume had just kept living as the character itself? He barely finishes the thought before Phoenix Man shows up, resurrected and upgraded to dragon level, opening with a heat blast that sends them scrambling. Child Emperor tells Waganma to stay put and goes at it himself. He's out of underdog men, so this one's personal. He charges in confident, tries the same transparent film trick that worked before, and Phoenix Man tears straight through it with a beak attack. Phoenix Man is visibly stronger than before, talking about omnipotence, about glowing, about being number one among all living things. Child Emperor isn't crying out of fear. He's furious at his own weakness, and he makes that clear. Phoenix Man, mildly impressed, decides this situation calls for his ultimate weapon. Child Emperor summons Brave Giant, a massive robot he pre-planted underground in pieces just in case. Waganma immediately calls him out for not using it from the jump. Phoenix Man does the same, correctly guessing there must be serious limitations on when it can be deployed. The fight between Brave Giant and Phoenix Man kicks into overdrive. Missiles, fire modes, speed bursts, absorbed attacks. Phoenix Man keeps evolving mid-fight, sinking deeper with the Donkin Bird costume, shifting into Phoenix Fire Falcon mode, and then Phoenix Prominence Hawk mode. Child Emperor is burning through options fast and knows it. Brave Giant has a 3-minute energy window before it loses control, and Phoenix Man figures that out, going into hiding and firing homing missiles to run the clock down. Child Emperor finds him anyway, traps him in an irritating electromagnetic shield, and lands a giant fist strike. But the robot is already past its limit. Systems start failing, the battery is close to exploding, and Phoenix Man just keeps getting stronger. Child Emperor decides his only shot is to link up directly and end it together. Then Phoenix Man resurrects again. Child Emperor clocks the transmitter signal nearby. Flash's transmitter. He's horrified, wondering if Flash actually got taken down. Phoenix Man thanks Child Emperor for helping him evolve this far, then activates a new ability firing a ray that reanimates the corpses of dead monsters around them. He calls it the Light of the New King's Awakening, explaining the costume whispered the technique to him. Child Emperor focuses on Phoenix Man. With Brave Giant nearly destroyed and systems failing across the board, Child Emperor strips the robot down to its arms and thrusters, dumps everything else, and fires off Millennium Emperor Nova at maximum power. Phoenix Man tries to absorb it. He can't. The blast tears through and floods the chamber. Phoenix Man is down, the costume wrecked, but Phoenix Man crawls out and goes straight for Child Emperor hiding inside the robot's shell, threatening to peck through and pull him out. Child Emperor slips a tickle bug into the costume through the gap around Phoenix Man's face, a tiny creature that crawls inside and tickles until the target suffocates. Phoenix Man panics, tears the costume off himself, and the moment it's separated, Child Emperor hits it with the Gembuster attachment and rips it apart for good. No costume, no resurrection. Child Emperor radios in Waganma is secured. They're heading up. Child Emperor asks Waganma if he was the only hostage down here. Waganma thinks so. They move for the exit. Episode 34. Things pick up underground with Zombie Man already deep in it, surrounded and running on fumes. He's been taking down monster after monster, and even he's starting to wonder how many that makes now. Child Emperor had planned the assault so enemy forces would be spread thin, but the reality on the ground is messier than that. A crowd of monsters has Zombieman cornered, and they're not subtle about it. They want him dead, and they want it to be entertaining. Then a door opens, and behind it is Vampire, a purebred, demon-level threat with a bloodline full of supernatural power and an attitude to match. The monsters surrounding them are thrilled. They actually hate Vampire too, since he feeds on his own kind. Their logic is simple. Pit a Class S hero against a vampire, who every monster already hates, and whoever survives will be too wrecked to fight back. Then they swarm the winner. Clean Plan Vampire moves first, sinking fangs into Zombieman's carotid and draining blood fast. The crowd goes wild. Zombieman hits the floor and everyone assumes it's done. Then he gets back up. What follows is 30 minutes of Vampire killing Zombieman over and over again. Bullets through vital organs, brain destruction, the works, and Zombieman just keeps regenerating. Vampire is genuinely baffled. Zombieman, calm as ever, points out that Vampire beat him around 200 times. And this last one is his first win. Vampire doesn't move again. The crowd that was cheering goes quiet. Zombieman doesn't get a break though. About 30 monsters immediately announce they're next. He doesn't bolt. He tells them to bring it, takes a brutal beating, and buys himself a few minutes to heal while the monsters hesitate to actually go first. He's exhausted, sweating, hates sweating, and just wants to get it over with. Meanwhile, Child Emperor radios and that Waganma is secured and they're heading up. Zombieman acknowledges it, and somewhere nearby, a new monster called Big Eater shows up declaring it's feast time. Someone else notes it's probably fine. Class S heroes can handle it, and everyone refocuses on their own fights. Elsewhere underground, a private rescue squad deployed by Narinki has been brainwashed by a monster using a pain-inducing whip. Two of Atomic Samurai's disciples, Ian and Okamaitachi, are trying to subdue the squad without hurting them, but the brainwashed soldiers are strong and well-armed. Amai Mask shows up and tells the disciples to fall back and handle something else. He'll deal with this one himself. The monster with the whip tries to negotiate, offering to release the squad if Amai Mask gets cozy with her. He's not interested. She cracks the whip at him. It does nothing. She surrenders immediately and declares herself his servant. Amai Mask is something the monster clearly wasn't prepared for. She even remarks that he isn't human. The disciples catch a glimpse of Pig God doing his thing nearby and quietly agree to take a different route. Down another corridor, the disciples run into Malong Hair, a demon-level monster whose entire deal is over 100,000 strands of hair that can pierce, bind, slice, and constrict. One of the disciples gets briefly distracted by how attractive the monster is, gets snapped back to reality, and they get to work. The fight is brutal. 3 swords against an endless wave of hair attacks coming from every angle, including underground. The disciples talk through the monster's mechanics in real time, figuring out his range and methods, and eventually grind him down. It takes all 3 of them, and they're worn out after. But the monster goes down while they catch their breath. They think about Atomic Samurai and figure he's probably just luring enemies in and cutting them all down in one swing. Cut to Atomic Samurai, who has already slashed through a crowd of monsters without breaking a sweat. Then Machine God G5 appears, a robot that has copied his sword data and claims it can upgrade his techniques beyond human joint limitations. G5 pushes the speed up and actually gives Atomic Samurai something to think about. Atomic Samurai notes there's a hardened core he couldn't cut through, and something escapes from inside G5 to the surface. Atomic Samurai flags the surface team to handle it. The episode closes on a child running and screaming underground, chased down by a massive figure who tells the kid to stop, not to help, but because killing them will only take a second. Episode 35. Things kick off with Child Emperor and Waganma still making their way to the exit underground. Waganma asks if Child Emperor will personally escort him all the way to his dad, and Child Emperor shuts that down immediately. His job ends at the surface handoff. He explains he has to get back to the battlefield because the other heroes don't know how to cooperate, and someone needs to lead them. Waganma seems genuinely surprised that a kid is running point on all of this, and Child Emperor admits he wishes someone else would take over, but there's no time to get into it. He mentions he's also class president, though he doesn't make it to school much. They reach the exit and push through. On the surface, Child Emperor radios in that the rescue operation is a success. The surface team is thrilled, but Child Emperor brushes off the praise, pointing out they barely made it out alive. Then he tries to reach the other Class S heroes and gets almost nothing back. Zombieman checks in and acknowledges the good work. A My Mask responds too, unbothered as ever. Says the monsters are no big deal and he'll keep carrying out justice. Pig God reports he's currently digesting. Then Atomic Samurai fumbles with the transmitter, accidentally deletes Child Emperor's message, and leaves a rambling voice memo saying he found a child underground before losing the signal entirely. Child Emperor immediately turns to Waganma, who already knew there was another captive and said nothing because he just wanted to get out himself. He breaks down apologizing. Child Emperor doesn't waste time being angry. He tells the surface team to take Waganma and turns right back around to go underground. The suited escort tries to stop him, pointing out how exhausted he looks, but Child Emperor isn't hearing it. Now that they know there's no choice, meanwhile Atomic Samurai runs into Black Sperm, a dragon-level threat who's been bored out of his mind and wants some entertainment. Atomic Samurai is blunt about it. He's sliced up dozens of massive mutated freaks and this will be a piece of cake. He figures out fast that Black Sperm is the splitting type, the most annoying kind, and Black Sperm makes it clear that no matter how much you cut him, he just keeps multiplying. Atomic Samurai says he'll just unleash countless slashes on all of them. They go at it, and Atomic Samurai's power is genuinely staggering even against the split forms. But there are just too many, even in his multiplied state. Black Sperm hits hard enough to seriously injure Atomic Samurai, and Atomic Samurai ends up dropping the roof down on him to buy himself space. Elsewhere, Homeless Emperor is in the middle of a fight and takes a moment to monologue. He explains his whole origin, lost his job, got kicked out of his home, ended up living in a park, and reached a point where he was ready to die. That's when a figure he describes as God appeared and told him humans are fools, offered him power, and told him he already knew what to do with it. His conclusion is that humanity and its civilization need to be destroyed. Zombieman, who's been listening while regenerating, points out that he didn't have time to fully heal before the story ended, and asks what exactly made him think that was actually God. Homeless Emperor isn't interested in the question and keeps attacking. Meanwhile, Puri Puri Prisoner runs into a group of former prison inmates who've been monsterized by the Monster Association. He's devastated by what's happened to them and tries to appeal to their shared memories, eating together, working together, the whole thing. They're not moved. They're there for revenge. A dragon-level monster called Nyan, a cat type, shows up and gets involved before getting bored and dipping to find a different hero. The monsterized inmates keep hammering Puri Puri Prisoner, and the accumulated damage triggers something. His body undergoes a rapid evolution, sprouting what he immediately calls Angel Bristly Armor. He dedicates the new power to his fallen honeys and goes after Nyan underground, using Angel Crawl to swim through the earth. Nyan senses him coming and wants nothing to do with it. The episode closes on a massive figure wandering through an enormous underground chamber, muttering about how ridiculously huge the place is and planning to grab the next person they see for directions. Episode 36. Things open underground with Fubuki. King, Bang, and Bomb are picking their way through the Monster Association's hideout. King is uneasy, the place is massive, dark, damp, and he keeps saying it feels like something could jump out at any second. Meanwhile, Super Alloy Blackluster is in the middle of a fight with Insect God. Insect God has been monologuing about the perfection of insect physiology, the exoskeletons, the efficient bodies, the muscles that never tire, and how deeply disappointed he was that a monster achieved that ideal before he could. But now that he's up against it firsthand, he's excited to feel that power for himself. Super Alloy Blackluster listens to all of this and then tells him flatly that he's a letdown. His body outperforms Insect God's, and on top of that, Insect God lacks the signature black sheen. Blackluster uses the moment to run down the three heroes you should never cross. King, whose King Engine will wipe out all evil. Tornado, who will pulverize you beyond recognition. And himself, whose muscles start acting on their own when pushed too far. Insect God isn't impressed and charges in anyway. Blackluster tells him that's reckless. Twice. He finishes Insect God off in one punch, and the ground shakes from the impact. Saitama, still wandering, spots a giant dog and casually bribes it with a bone to lead him toward whatever's making all the noise. He ends up taking the dog down in one punch too. Then Nyan drops in and tries a sneak attack. Intense catstigation, and it does absolutely nothing. Nyan's claws don't even scratch him. That's enough for Nyan, who immediately decides there's no reason to risk his life for the Monster Association and bolts. Saitama just watches him go, mildly confused. Meanwhile, Tornado has found Joro Joro. Joro introduces himself as the Monster Association's strategist and the architect of the new world. Tornado cuts him off and tells him to die. She blasts straight through his barrier, and Joro escalates to his true form and hits her with 300 times gravity. Tornado says it feels pretty good and asks if he can put a little more pressure on her right shoulder because she changed her pillow recently and her shoulder's been stiff. Joro panics and calls out for Monster King Orochi to come finish her off. Nobody shows up. Tornado figures Orochi is probably busy with someone else and starts closing in. Gyoro is completely rattled. The reason Orochi isn't coming is that Orochi found Saitama. He gives the full speech, the ancient prophecy, the endless fusion experiments, the evolution from human to ultimate life form, the destined god descending upon the world, and Saitama cuts him off mid-sentence. He's heard it all before. King of so-and-so, ancient weapon so-and-so, final evolution so-and-so, none of it means anything because they all go down in one punch anyway. Orochi launches everything he has. Lightning surges up from underground. One normal punch. Orochi is done. Back on the other side of things, the group splits up, and King ends up alone through a complete failure of communication. He tries to calm himself down by imagining he's a cloud, then a microorganism, then just a being close to nothingness floating around. Then a hostage kid appears right in front of him, terrified, begging King to carry him to the exit. King starts to stammer out a warning that relying on him is a mistake. Meanwhile, Saitama ended it in one punch. Told you so. Thanks for watching. Check out this next video, and remember to subscribe and Zap.